All right, folks, this week we had a chance to sit down with Colleen Quigley Voutilanen, aka C-Quigs, one of my favorite people. We grew up together on the East Coast. She's an East Coast legend. She's a mom. She had a great career as a pro snowboarder, which we get into, and then she transitioned into working in the industry. She worked at Salomon, then did marketing over at Dakine, and now she's over at Patagonia. So she's got great industry insight on what goes on behind the scenes. It's a really good chat. She cares deeply about the snowboard community. Ripping snowboarder, also ripping human. I got to take a quick moment to say thank you so much to all of our sponsors coming on board, supporting the show. We got Woodward, Bubs, Pub Beer, Mammoth, Turtlebox, Yeti, Nitro, and Snow League. Thank you guys so much for supporting our show. We really appreciate you guys. And also, check out bombhole.com. Bookmark it on your tabs. We got videos. We got all kinds of stuff on there. We got all of our merch if you want to buy any Bombhole gear. So check out bombhole.com. And lastly, I just got to say heartfelt thank you to our Patreon members for supporting the show. You guys rule. We couldn't do the show without you. So let's get into it. The C-Quigs episode. Here we go.
You are listening to the
Hey, MFM. See you on the lift. Back attack, dude.
Bon voyage!
Get that damn car off of the hill.
Slide down them big hills. You know what I mean? On the big, nice burgundy snowboard.
All right, welcome to the Bombhole, which is presented by Run Through Wall Smelling Salts. And of course, today co-hosting in the chair to my right, we have Mr. Bryan Fox. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Happy to be here.
I'm happy you're here as well. Unfortunately, Silk couldn't make it in studio today, which is a little bit sad. But we do have Colleen Quigley in studio. What's happening, Colleen?
Hey, guys. Not much.
Man, we're pumped that you're here. You traveled out here with 2 kids and your husband, Ami. 2-part question. We're going to hit the ground running. What are you doing out here, and how has traveling with the family been?
Yeah, we're here on a work trip, technically, with some extended vacation for fun. Get the kids into snow. We're here to show Nick Russell's new film, Popsura, The Peak of Evil. Mid-premiere tour. He's about to head off to Europe, and I already forgot the second part of the question. So,
How's traveling with the kids?
Yeah. Traveling with the kids, I don't know. I mean, it's a shit show, if I'm being honest. I think I was telling you the other day on the phone, it's kind of like no mistakes planning and traveling. You kind of need to have everything thought of, everything packed. Like, you know, your next 10 moves, you're thinking like way ahead, because travel interruptions, travel snafus, they're awful when you're a single person traveling. It's frustrating and it sucks. But like when you have kids and you miss your flight or you forgot something really critical, that really sucks.
Yeah. Any meltdowns so far? Pretty smooth?
There's kind of meltdowns on the daily. I think like any parent will tell you that. It just kind of depends. Like, I mean, as an adult, I feel it. Like, you're hungry, you have to go to the bathroom, whatever it is. Like, kids, it's just exponentially in that way. Like, they're psyched, they're freaking out, we're calming down, we're psyched again, and that's just like
Drug addict
the whole day.
vibe.
Yeah,
It's like hanging out with Bryan.
yeah, totally. Yeah.
Maturity level is about the same.
Yeah, we call them like, sometimes they're kind of drug addicts, little terrorists sometimes. Also, a complete joy. Like, best part of my life.
Yeah. I found with my son, he's like a gremlin. Like, you know, at night is really when it's like the exorcism happens during the day, and then at night he becomes possessed and starts melting down.
Yeah, I mean, congratulations.
Thank you.
It's a massively, I think, transformative moment in your life. It's like a new chapter. You don't realize it right when it's happening, but pretty soon you'll look back and be like, I'm in a new chapter, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, nighttime is basically like I haven't slept in 5 years. So brain function is pretty low. Yeah.
Love it. Well, we're going to get into our first guest question. And this is from someone special. I'm not even going to brief it. Here we go.
Hi, Mama. It's Ellie. What is the best trick you can do? Bye-bye.
Hi, Ellie. I love you so much. That's a great question. I feel like somebody fed that to you because she has no idea. She's 4.5, everybody. But I love that. The best trick, I don't know. I mean, I think the best trick I currently have is being able to get the baby to sleep like pretty quickly. Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
in your prime.
In my prime?
Don't hold back.
This is a really like easy trick for a lot of people, maybe even yourself. Like, I feel like when I was trying to learn this, I was looking at a lot of clips of you doing this, but it's maybe like the best feeling trick that I ever landed was an alley-oop backside rodeo in the mini pipe at summer camp. It was just like, felt so good just putting those down for a very brief period in my life.
Let's say right now, like, what would it take for you to do that?
That's a good question.
Like this week, could you be like, all right, fuck it?
Yeah. Ami and I talk about this a lot, like often where we're like, both kids are going to nap at the same time today. Like, we're going to do something productive. And instead, like, they're like passing ships and we're like drinking coffee and it's like 4:30 p.m. and we're just trying to survive. And we'll talk about like, oh, if there was just like, we think about timberline. If you go riders right into those little ravines that are there are all these like fun little side hits. And we often talk about just like being out there for like little kind of step up side hits, like no consequences. What we would do, we were doing that on the way here for sure. I don't know if I would try that trick in like a pipe or a mini pipe because it feels like I would just slam so hard. But I would definitely try like a back rodeo in some like 10-foot.
No, I'm saying $100,000 this summer.
Yeah, like, what's your
I'm
number?
talking
Somebody's like, I got $100,000 if you land an alley-oop back road in the pipe. You gonna try one?
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll die.
You'll do
Okay,
one.
let's go down. Okay, 50.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, 5.
I mean, probably, definitely.
$250.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, peer pressure. I'm
$100.
in. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'm more saying we're on a friend trip this summer.
Yes.
At Mount
The answer
Hood.
is
What's it
yes.
going to take for me to be like,
It
Quigs,
seems like peer pressure.
back rodeo alley oop right now, and
Yeah.
you'd be like, I guess if I get hurt, Patagonia does have pretty good insurance.
Yeah.
And if it's a work trip, would that be?
Well, it's product testing.
I am so susceptible to peer pressure.
Yeah.
Like, so susceptible. It's crazy. But I love it. But I mean, just for an example, like how we got on this path. Was riding Spring Park one time with Taylor Lundquist and Jill Perkins, and they were trying to learn McTwists. And I was like, basically, they didn't say anything. And I was like, let me break it down for you guys, like a complete idiot. And I was like, well, kind of for me, like the way it makes sense for learning those types of flips, like off transition for me, this is going to sound so weird and wrong, but like it kind of started with hand plants because they're safer. And then kind of like with the alley-oop backside rodeo, for example, like doing like an andrect, but then like doing the cheater flip where you just like go over fakie and then just going faster, you know? And so I was like, oh, let me show you guys. And I did one and came kind of close but didn't land it. And then so I like got overly confident and I was like, yeah, watch this, you guys. And I went faster and I just like dead man walking, like fully like straight leg. I was like 2 feet higher than I thought I was. And I came down to like put my feet down and my legs were like ready to land. And I just like hit the lip, bounced, scorpioned into the landing. Full, like straight to my face. I thought I broke my nose. Like Jill has a photo, I have it too, but like my nose is just bleeding. I'm like dazed. I probably had a concussion. Nose like just blood everywhere.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Jill actually did give a note about ask her about the time she tried to teach us how to do McTwist. So I'm glad that came up naturally.
Yeah.
Do you remember going back to the back rodeo wormhole? One of my fondest memories is learning. I learned them with you. Do you remember that? Is that
yeah,
I
totally.
didn't make that up. That happened, right?
Yeah, I remember.
Mount Hood.
Yeah, I remember you being like, "Oh, I've like never been able to do these off of jumps."
Yep.
It's scary. Like I think it's scary. It's like a trick that people do so easily. And when people do it, it looks really easy. But for me, I had a really hard time wrapping my head around it off a just straight up jump.
Yeah, I think I've done a couple, but it wasn't ever like, oh, I'm going to go do that trick. That's pretty comfortable. It's more like, maybe we'll land on our head today.
Yeah, we both worked through the demons together.
Yeah.
It was good times.
Yeah. I mean, for you, was it hard?
Yeah, I remember just get those first ones off of jumps to just get your body to commit that way. You got to have somebody to go to war with on that. Like, come on, let's get fired up.
When are you guys talking about? Like, what year?
Probably like 2006.
Yeah.
I bet.
Yeah, that's probably pretty spot on, actually.
You were working at camp?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in college, I think.
Yeah.
All right, C-Quigs, I want to know, you're from the East Coast. Where'd you grow up?
We kind of moved around a little bit when I was younger. I mean, I'm originally from New York. Like, both my parents are from New York and just outside the city. And then we briefly moved to Colorado. That's where I learned how to snowboard. Which is like just a couple years. Bryan looks confused. He's like, I didn't know
that.
I know. I don't really. Yeah, it's not like for me. It's not a big chapter in my life. I mean, we were talking about chapters.
I would have been talking shit to you for the last fucking 20 years if I didn't spend some time in Colorado.
Does anybody want to be from Colorado?
Dude, there's probably a lot of viewers. So
No,
maybe
I'm coming around to Rado. I'm coming around, honestly. But anyway, continue.
Yeah, we were there like a couple of years, and that's where I learned how to snowboard. My brothers, I have two older brothers, and the first year we moved there, my parents were like, let's get on skis and get in the mountains. And so we skied. And then my brothers were like, no, we want snowboards. Our house was kind of on a hill, and it was awesome because I could just go outside every day after school and just like learn how to snowboard there. So I didn't learn how to ride at a resort or anything, which like now trying to teach Ellie and thinking about like the kids, it's so hard. Like it's such a crazy logistical thing, like getting on hill and then they're like totally fried by the time you're like click, like strapped in, time to have fun. And they're just like full tantrum melting down. But yeah, for me, it was like kind of perfect. My parents could just like do whatever, hang inside. We'd be outside, like building jumps, messing around, learning how to turn and stuff. And then my best friend there, yeah, her parents were ski patrollers at Loveland. And so like, that was insane and so awesome. So great. My parents like basically didn't ski. Like we went up a couple of times the first year, but then like Kara's parents were basically, just taking us up there like every weekend. And we'd be there like well before the lifts open, well after everything was closed, and just like full days at Loveland.
You're watching like videos at this part, or you like at this point, or are you just full?
So I got my first snowboard video when we were living there. I got TB8 and
Infinity.
Kara's older brothers were pretty into snowboarding, so they had some other films stuff that we watched. But that was like the first one that I asked for and like got for Christmas or something. Yeah.
So you're watching. You're not just like you're watching. You're like, I'm into this thing, not just doing it. Yeah. Like started doing some USASA contests and like going up there, not like fully aware of the scene and things like that, but became aware of like summer camp, like High Cascade and Camp of Champs, and like, yeah. Did you feel like, oh, I'm good at this, I'm proficient? You looked around at people your age and went like, oh, I'm pretty good.
No, I don't know if I've ever like really felt that way. I feel like I've like always just been struggling to keep up, kind of like, and I'd kind of just like be like, I guess we're at the top of these jumps, and like I have no idea how fast to go or slow or what to do, and I'm just gonna like wing it when I like leave the lip. That was kind of
it's a good plan.
Slam. A lot of
big
slamming,
career for Chris doing that.
Still do it.
Yeah, try it. Be like, that was a huge mistake.
Yeah.
But yeah, then my parents, like we moved back to the East Coast of Massachusetts. And to me, like, that's kind of like, I consider that like the formative years for me. Yeah.
Yeah. That's where it all really, that's when it actually started.
Yeah,
it's
totally.
kind of Massachusetts, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Were you?
Were
you an Eastern Border kid?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which actually brings me to our next question, because we're so dialed in here. We got a question from Bub. Here we go.
Love Bub.
Hey Colleen, it's Bub. Can you share with us how your time spent working at Eastern Border may have influenced your career path in any way? Maybe with somebody you met or something you experienced that made you think this is what I want to pursue? Thanks.
Bub, I love you so much. I miss you. Thanks for the question. I was so pissed at my parents when we were moving back to the East Coast, to be honest, because I was like, we're leaving this place with mountains to, like, I was looking on like the internet was, you know, like kind of newish. I mean, I think we got when I was like, I don't know, in 3rd grade or something. And I was looking and I was like, oh, like we're fucked. I'm like quitting snowboarding. I'm going to just go back to like playing tennis all the time. This is going to suck. And then when I got there, I needed like a helmet or something. And so I went with my dad to the closest shop, which happened to be the Nashua Eastern Border shop. And we walked in and I was kind of like, whoa, like it kind of felt like this, like the way the studio feels. And there are so many people. I mean, like that's such a huge question. I think like I eventually ended up working at the Nashua store. Chris Rice was the manager. Earl was there for a bit. Like really insane crew. Bub was the manager of the Leominster store. I also like worked there, not as much. Bub ran a tight ship. Like he'd make us work. He'd be like, Colleen, like we got to go organize like the whole back boot zone. And it was like this crazy, like sketchy, like he was always building these little like hidey holes and lofts where you'd be like up on this sketchy ladder, like sweating and it's like all hot and you're like trying to organize like 150 32 boots or something. Like, and in Nashua, like we'd just be talking shit like all the time and watching The Garden on repeat basically. And yeah, I mean like everyone there had such a huge influence. John Como was like taking us around. Like, yeah, it was just like, it was kind of insane. So, I mean, the whole story of it is like, went in there and I think I basically just like asked for a job, or maybe like Rice was like, I was hanging out there. He was like, yeah, do you want to work here or something? I can't remember how it went down. And yeah, like Bryan Barb and like Andy Benhart, like there were like huge posters of them, like right when you walked to the Nashua store, and like Shane Flood, like whole crew. And they had like a team, which was cool. Just the culture and the community. It was like, I had no idea what I was walking into. Like it was super fun. There were like team challenge events. Like we went to Jersey one time. I used to snowboard with John Strobel and Jock Barrio a lot. Like that was really fun. They're a couple of years older than me and kind of like took me under their wing. Strobel worked at the Leominster store. Jock was just like on the team. I feel like you guys were in Western Mass and you were on Dark Side.
Central Mass. Mass. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah. Bounced off. I would go to the Framingham location.
Yeah.
Because they had EB there.
Yeah.
And then I got kicked off the team for being too annoying. And then I got back on. So it all worked out.
Is that where Dark Side came in?
No, I went to this shop called Fat Tracks because Academy told me I needed a board sponsor to ride for them. And a bunch of my friends like Scott and Beresford worked at Fat Tracks. So anyway, continue with EB because you're mentioning a lot of royalty right now and I'm loving it.
Yeah, I mean, I was always like aware of you guys, but it felt like a different kind of zone, you know, like you and Scott and Beresford.
You know, me being a part of Western Mass, I do take offense to that because we're central. But anyway, continue.
Did you ever go to Worcester?
Yeah, that's. I'm in Worcester County. That's right.
Yeah, Worcester was like the crazy. Yeah. But that was like the crazy.
My grandmother would take me to the Ice Cats games. Anyway, yeah, that store was nuts.
Yeah.
Do you like? Do you think about how crazy that random move from your parents is? Like,
yeah.
I mean, in some ways, it feels like maybe just moving that going to that shop might have totally changed the whole direction of your whole life.
It 1,000% changed the like trajectory of my life. Like in Colorado, I mean, I was pretty young and it was just a couple years. Like it didn't really feel like there was a community. There's so many mountains and they're so big and everybody's really spread out. And there's just this like huge tourism element. And like you don't go to the mountain and like see people. And everybody skis and snowboards there, like where I went to school for a couple years there. And in Mass, like it was like me, Strobel, and my other friend, Evan. There were like 3 people in our entire high school that snowboarded. And, but there was this insane community where like everybody was gathering constantly, whether it was like at the shop, like I'd be working there, I get off school, go home real quick, or sometimes drive straight from school, go work, close the shop. I'd go like on the weekends on my days off and just like hang out there. And like events, like, you just experienced this when you were there for the bomb hole event. Like everybody shows up to everything. And like when they were doing the World Quarters, the US Open, and Last Call, and there was like almost like this crazy circuit that would happen in March. Like everyone, like every snowboarder in New England and even kind of like beyond down into Jersey and even like further south, like people would just show up and it'd be this crazy like 2-week tour where people were just like going from event to event, or that's what it felt like. And I think like for me, all the guys at the shop, like basically telling me how things are, like what's cool, what's not cool, but also just like letting me be myself, and kind of like educating in this kind of rad older brother type way was really cool.
Bully education.
Oh, full on, like salty, like East Coast. It's like
stupid fucking shirt. Get out of here quickly.
Yeah, basically. I remember I came to the shop one time with like my nails painted, and like I painted them myself. And yeah, Chris Mulcahy was like working there, like another old friend, and he was just like, "The fuck is on your nails?" And I was just like, "Oh, like nail polish." But yeah, if there was like one moment where I think I was just kind of like mind blown, it was when I went to the World Quarters for the first time. I was pretty young. I can't remember if I don't think I even had my driver's license. I think maybe like Jess Roy or somebody drove me up there. She's like a year or two older than me. And yeah, we drove up and like, I can't remember like where we stayed or what we did. Maybe we drove home, or like, I definitely remember like sleeping in like bathtubs and stuff like that, where we like pack into a hotel room with like 20 people. And yeah, I went up there and like watching everybody hit that quarter pipe, but like beyond that, just the crazy party that felt like, yeah, just like a moment where it was like, this is insane. And I mean, anybody who saw it knows exactly what I'm talking about, but like,
Who won that year?
did Shane win?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Switch Michael Chuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But I mean, if anybody listening has never seen any of the footage or been there, it was like, everybody was like basically blacked out drunk. I was like pretty young, like not like drinking wasn't like a concept to me. And just watching everybody line up at the end, it would like devolve into this like crazy gauntlet with like things burning, like fire pits you had to jump over. And everybody would be throwing their half-empty beers at the people dropping, who were doing like crazy tricks and going really fast into a really icy, sketchy quarter pipe. And it was awesome.
Legendary.
Yeah.
Legendary. Did you experience, I almost forget about this too, because we live out here. You go to the grocery store, you might see JP Walker. You might go to the burrito shop, you see Jeremy Jones. Like there's, you know, you forget when you live out west, where we are specifically too. But I remember when I was a kid, like seeing Shane Flood being like, holy shit, that's Shane Flood.
Yeah. In his like straight jacket, outerwear. Yeah.
Yeah, Mission 6. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel like pros aren't as accessible, so you get like so jacked up because it's such a tight knit community.
Yeah, yeah. And I became friends with Shane. Like, he was super cool and like really intimidating at first. Like, you look at him and you're like, this dude's so scary. But then you get to know him and you're like, he's just a big softie and super cool. And yeah, he used to like call my house like before our cell phones. And my mom would answer. She'd be like, Colleen, it's Shane. I'm like, okay. I get on the phone and be like, hello? He'd be like, hey, are you coming to Waterville this weekend? I was like, yeah, of course. Like, I don't know what else I would do. I was doing that like every weekend. And they'd be like, all right, see ya. Click. And then I go up there and like, I'd be like, hey, Shane. And he'd just be like riding. I'd be like, all right, next time.
It's kind of like when I first met him, I was like, oh, this guy's got a little bit of like Whit Lake in him. Like East Coast Whit Lake. Just like a little bit like reserved in a way that's like not off-putting, but you're like, did I do something? Like,
yep.
You know, where, but it kind of builds, like, he definitely was this character on the West Coast, even where I'd be like, oh, that guy's like, he seems like something, I don't know. You kind of almost like put them in a rock star.
Yep.
Oh,
because they have something where you're like, I don't know what it is, but I'm kind of drawn to you, but I'm scared of you.
Yep.
Or something.
I remember going to the last call that had the 2 rainbow rails.
Yeah, the
at
double rainbow.
Ragged, maybe.
Iconic year.
And I remember seeing Shane Flood try switch hot garbages on the long rail, which was the elite move at that time. And every time he'd miss, he would scream profanities. Yeah. And I remember thinking it was so cool. I was like, that is so sick, you know?
Yeah. I mean, he was like a myth. It was like, does he sleep in a coffin? Like, we don't know, you know?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I think I actually maybe heard that he did.
Yeah.
Dude.
But then you're like, but he's also straight edge.
Yeah.
But I'm terrified of him. And yeah.
Dude, I mean, think about also the fits back then, because you get a Mission 6 jacket and cut the sleeves off the jacket. I literally, because of Shane Flood, cut the sleeves off of a brand new Mission 6 jacket that was purchased at Eastern Border, probably full retail.
Your parents are just like, what the fuck?
So when they used to do that contest at Wachusett, that was the first time my parents met him in person. Mm-hmm. So like my parents, because they didn't ski, they didn't really come to the mountain. And then this event started happening at Wachusett. So they come the first year. And like, mind you, Shane's been calling the landline at my house. And we never really talked about it, like who is Shane or whatever. And like, and if they asked, I was probably just like, yeah, he's just a guy who snowboards. And we go there. And I remember so vividly, my mom, he's in the straitjacket outerwear. Like it was that like time. And my mom is like, this is so awesome. Like she thought he was so cool. And the look on my dad's face, I think he was just like horrified. He was like, oh my God, this is the Shane that has been calling.
This is your friend?
Yeah.
That's the night he, I believe he punted Lucas Magoon. He like kicked him after the event. I don't know if you ever heard about that at the hotel. There was a legendary story where he like, Gooner was being a little bit tuned up and I believe he like did the flying jump kick to Lucas.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But
yeah,
how'd you do in East Coast Invitational?
This will be an interesting interview. I have the worst memory. I don't know. I can't remember.
You won last call though.
Yes.
That's prestigious. That's Jersey in the rafters of the garden type of win right there.
It is possible I also won the Wachusett contest. I don't remember. I remember what I remember is like going home that night and my legs being so sore. Mm-hmm. Like we were just hiking and I don't know, just like.
All the French Canadians would come down and put a beat down on that.
Yeah, that was really cool. It was cool to watch them. Like Killington also had that contest where like a lot of the Canadians would come down. It was so cool to watch them.
Spring loaded, maybe?
Were you hitting like would you hit rail jam like
oh yeah.
everything?
Yeah, because like that was all we had to snowboard on really. Like I went up Tuckerman's. I was like, okay, this is like kind of sketchy.
Yeah.
But other than, like when it snowed, it was like that was what we had access to. Go to Manchester and just like ride down hills, go snowboarding. Like it was pretty far. I mean, to drive up there from my parents' house, it'd take like an hour and a half at least to get to Waterville. And so like a lot of times we were just like, there's snow on the ground. Let's just go.
Your parents like, do you feel like they always kind of supported you doing it? And then were you already thinking about wanting to be pro going to these contests and like trying to be sponsored, or what was your?
No, like, my parents were supportive for sure. I mean, like they got me like the gear I needed. They were super supportive of me, like working at Eastern Border. They were probably psyched I was like out of the house earning a little bit of money. But like, yeah, they were happy. I think I think they were like really happy that I had a passion, that I was something like I really cared about and was interested in. And, but one rule they had was I was never allowed to miss school ever for any reason, for anything. And so that was really tough. And I remember like one huge fight I got in with my parents was over like that team challenge they used to do at what mountain was that at? Do you remember in Jersey?
Oh,
like
I forget. It wasn't at Mountain Creek.
Yeah, it was actually. Okay. I think. Yeah, and that was where like Como was going down there with like Strobel and Jock and like the whole crew, and it was like. That's where Eastern Border really cultivated, like we were kids and they made it so fun. They were like, we're going on this road trip and we're going to do this contest and you're on the team and like, we're going to stay in a hotel. And it was so fun. I was so excited. My parents were like, oh, and you have to leave on a Friday? No, you're not going. And that was a huge fight. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think I won because I was there. Yeah. So ultimately they let me go, but I'm sure I like threw some pretty heavy, like I hate you daggers and things like that.
All right, folks, Valentine's Day is coming up, and we're giving away 2 Bubs Naturals VIP boxes and 2 Nitro snowboards. It's really easy to enter. Just go to the pin post on Bombhole's Instagram and tag a buddy in the comments. Bubs will DM you to confirm your entry. We'll pick a winning comment at random and send you and whoever you tagged your own VIP box and snowboard. It can be your buddy, your significant other, your insignificant other, but hopefully it's somebody that you like so you can actually go snowboard together. The Bubs VIP box has pretty much one of everything Bubs makes. We're talking collagen, we're talking halo creamer, coffee, apple cider vinegar, a beanie, and travel sticks, a bunch of their product as well, and then 2 Nitro snowboards. Those are also getting given away. So winners must be 18 years or older and located in the United States. And thank you so much for Bubs and Nitro for making this happen. Good luck, folks. Okay, we're excited. We're excited about a little thing called Snow League. We're talking biggest prize purse in all of snowboarding. $1.5 million is rumored to be the prize purse. And this is going to be a 4-stop points chase where they crown a season-long champion, both male and female. It's head-to-head format, something new and exciting for snowboarding half-pipe competitions. Riders will be dropping in on both sides of the pipe, so you'll get to see varying pipe runs, which is exciting for me. All the heavy hitters are coming out. We're talking Matty Mastro, Ayumu, Valentino Giselli, Lil Kitaki. So the first one is just half pipe, and that is at Aspen Snowmass, March 7th and 8th. And if you want to get tickets, check out thesnowleague.com. If you sign up before February 6th, they'll be free for qualifiers. And then if you sign up for finals before March 1st, the tickets are only $50. It'll be $60 after that. And if you're a Colorado resident, you save 50% before March 1st. So check out thesnowleague.com for your tickets. Also, the event's going to be on Peacock, which is huge for snowboarding. We heard about the broadcasters that are announcing it. Very excited about the broadcasters. And there'll be an encore recap on NBC, snowboarding on NBC, and that'll be in March. So if you want to check out the Snow League, go to @thesnowleague on their social media. Lots of behind-the-scene content. So event 1 will be at Aspen, and then event 2 through 4 are to be determined. So lots of exciting stuff from Snow League. Huge prize purse. Check out thesnowleague.com for more info.
All right, we're going to take a brief intermission to discuss some incredible offers from our incredible friends over at Woodward Park City. Get your child's snowboarding adventure started correctly at Woodward Park City. Whether they're making their first turns or mastering front boards, Woodward Park City has a wide range of classes for all ages and all skill levels. If you're interested in progressing, head on over to woodwardparkcity.com.
All right, I have a prompted question from Ami. I can't take credit for this because it's a pretty good one. Is there a moment where you fell in love with snowboarding that you remember?
I definitely loved it. Like, yeah, probably before we moved to Mass. But I think it was like, honestly, really the whole community at Eastern Border. Like for me, it wasn't like, at that age, it wasn't about like the pow turn that I got or like the trick that I learned or landed. And like those are huge pieces, obviously. Like it's a lot of joy, I think, when you're just on your board and like progressing and learning. But like, I think for me, it was like falling in love with just the community. And that like really started at Eastern Border. Like the crew there was just insane.
Great answer. Okay, so let's just continue on the rise of C-Quigs' career. We talked about last call. Where are we at with sponsors during this point in time? Who are we riding for?
Immediately, like everything happened through the shop. Like it was like you were in, and it was like family. And we were talking about Shane earlier, but like I eventually got on like Mission 6 and Monix. Later on when I moved to Mammoth, like it turned into something different, but like it was all through the reps, like Matt Jagman, hooked me up and he was like repping Santa Cruz. I ended up wearing Sessions outerwear from this dude, Jamie. I remember like
around that time later, Paul Danchek was like, hey, do you want Volcom outerwear? And I just like, I should have been like, hell yeah, I do. But like, I just felt loyal in a weird way and guilty. Like I had accepted this session outerwear from this other guy and it just felt like weird and kind of wrong to me. So I was like, oh, I just like feel like I need to wear this Sessions outerwear. And Sessions was cool. Like they were at that time, I think like already kind of on their downward trajectory, like a little bit, but like, I definitely was a fan of like their program for a bit and like their riders. And yeah, it felt like, I just like had this guilt and loyalty mentality, but like Jagaman was like my rep, like my guy kind of that helped me so much. And he was repping in the end Mission 6 and Monix, and I basically got like everything through him and he really took care of me. And that a lot of that was because of like Chris Rice, like they were buds, I think, in like the Nashua store. And I think who knows what happened behind the scenes. Like as an adult, I'm like, I could imagine Chris being like, listen, Matt, you're going to hook Colleen up and this is what's happening or something, you know? And like, that's just how I feel like Eastern Border operated. Or Bub, like Bub was also so instrumental in so many things and like, yeah, owe so much to him. And yeah, so it was like Santa Cruz and Monix.
Were there any pivotal moments that kind of helped you along the way that you can remember where things started to click, you know, maybe winning contests or filming clips or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like towards the end of high school, I mean, like really started to understand it a little bit more, you know, like watching like Tanner Pendleton and like watching what you guys were doing and like starting to see like filming. And I kind of just always operated my own like little bubble where I was just snowboarding because I loved it. And then it was like Eastern Border. And at the time that seemed like a huge world to me. And like you'd show up to like the World Quarters or the US Open and it was like, you know, like kind of unfathomable to me in a lot of ways. And like, I wasn't really like aware of the broader like pro scene. I mean, I watched the videos, but I wasn't like, oh, that's something like I can do. I was kind of like, that's like a unachievable thing. And I'm really stoked on just like this East Coast scene and whatever. But yeah.
How was the like female scene at that time where you lived?
Yeah, like non-existent. Jamie McLeod was like like
Special
the
blend.
Yeah, so sick.
So
Yeah.
sick.
Yeah, I remember like all the guys respected her and she was just super cool. I was like very intimidated by her. I thought she was very cool. Actually, like when I moved to Mammoth later on, I was waiting tables at the chart house and I remember like I was like, oh, Jamie came in and I was like, I want to like wait her table, you know. I was like super fan of hers. I think like just East Coast style, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, what other girls do you think were out there? It was
Jamie McLeod's first name that comes to mind.
Yeah.
Iron Curtain 3. Whew.
I know.
Those Iron Curtain videos too.
Yeah.
I feel like shaped the East Coast.
Yeah, Cavan. I mean, like the impact he had, I think. Ben Fee too. I like watching the Odyssey. I was like, this is crazy. I don't know what this is, but this is like, there's so much to take in. And yeah, the Iron Curtain movies were, yeah. So
What did that? Well, I mean, it's hard. I don't even know the right way to ask the question, but are you processing that as like a 16-year-old female in that world? Are you looking around and being like, ooh, or do you just get into the world and you're like, you don't feel like, oh, I'm the girl or something? Because
no, yeah, I mean, wait, I'm not sure I understood the question.
Were you aware that you were the only female out there, or were you just like, this is what it is?
The girls that I eventually met when I moved to Mammoth and like hung out with and like some of my best friends now, like I think we all came from different places where largely we were like the biggest fish in a small pond and where there just weren't other girls, which is really sad. Like it's a bummer. Like we didn't have the luxury. Like I look at what like Jill and Emma and like some of the younger girls, like even younger than Jill and Emma and that crew like have now, where they're really just like gassing each other up and they have like their crew and they're on the same page and they can go out and do something together. They can like be friends and talk shit and like have each other's backs and really like all the boats rise mentality. I think like kind of when I was snowboarding, it was more like I felt like thrust into it in a lot of ways. Like I wasn't ready. I didn't know like what I was getting into. Jamie was like on this pedestal with like Bridges and Rice and like Cavan and everybody that like I could never get to. And I didn't want to or like think that that was what I was going to try to do. I wasn't like, I want that. I'm doing that. And I think kind of like, you know, I meet like all these girls when we get to Mammoth and everybody kind of had like that really similar story. They like only rode with guys. Like they were the only girl. And that kind of then persisted in like the filming model. There was like the token girl in every film. And that girl kind of was forced to just like ride with the guys. And like, I think in some ways like that maybe held back a lot of progression because like I felt it sometimes like being at spots with like, yeah, like the guys like from Eastern Border and like Tanner's filming or something. And I'm like, I do not want to hit that, you know? And I'm just like gripped. And I think that's just like part of filming. Like most people are scared most of the time. And some people are not, but like, yeah, I wonder about that when it was like token girl in like the big snowboard films. If that girl's just like, well, I'm just like doing a grab off this jump or like a 3 because like it's so big. It's built for the guys.
Right.
I was filming for, you know, Eastern Border video with Tanner and everything versus, you know, Mischief and all the other films that you went on to do. How was the experience?
Yeah, I mean, it was awesome. It was so fun. I look back on that and I'm like, that was a really good time. Like those were really fun times. I feel like I had no idea what it took to make a video part. And I also didn't really have like the drive. I remember like driving around in the car with like you guys and like Chris Carr, and like Chris would just be like, he'd be like, pull over. And we'd be like, what do you see? Is it a spot? You know? And it'd just be like this giant hedge with like a driveway above it that he wanted to like just fall off of backwards, like into a hedge. and we'd waste like 45 minutes laughing hysterically, or like he'd be hiding in a trash can or like whatever. It was like, I feel like it was like 75% antics and like 25% snowboarding. And then like, I'd kind of just be like trying to tag along whenever I could and like work my way in. And then I feel like sometimes like when I really needed to get a shot or do something, or like Tanner Pendleton, like I love Tanner and he's one of the most talented people. And yeah, I feel like he'd call me and he'd be like, we're going to the spot and it's going to be like really good. You should come. You should hit it. I feel like that Creeper Rail in Manchester, I think he like straight up was like, we're going to the Creeper Rail in Manchester and you're getting a shot. It was like the Super Bowl was happening. And I was like, okay, like I've seen it, you know, like in other people's video parts, but I'd never like been to it, stood at the top of it. And I was like, what should I do? And he was like, you should just do the Creeper Rail. And I was like, okay, I'll try it. Like, I don't know.
And Vito got a photo of that too. And that ended up in the mag?
Can't remember.
Yeah, I think it did. I remember that photo being iconic too. That one really stands out. The Manchester Creeper spot was heavy. That was in for the hell of it, I believe.
Yeah. But I think like that was kind of, sometimes I look back on it and I'm like, I don't know. I feel like I work really hard, but I don't know if I've like been driven, if that makes sense. Like I like doing what I like doing and being around people that I like and respect and find interesting, but I'm rarely like focused on a goal that I have to get to. So like a lot of my snowboarding, I feel like was just kind of happenstance. Like I wasn't really the one calling somebody being like, I set up the spot yesterday. I know exactly what trick I want to get. I need you to come film, please. It was more just kind of like getting the call and I'd be like, yeah, I'd love to go drive in the car for like 9 hours. And then like not even put my snowboard boots on and just like watch and drink
it's part of the work, Colleen. It's part of the work, you know?
Yeah. No, I was like straight up bad at it. I feel like by the time I was filming with Peep Show, like Desiree was like, you suck at filming. I was like, I know. I've been doing this a long time. Like you don't have to tell me that, I know.
It's clear. Yeah. Your talent probably outweighed your drive, it sounds like.
Yeah, I don't know. I just loved it. Like
in regards to that filming and you basically like acknowledging that you weren't like professional in that way of being like, I want to get shots, I want to do this. Do you look back on that now and be like, ooh, maybe I would have tried more if now that you understand the other side of the business, do you look at that and go like, oh shit, like that was a cool opportunity. Maybe I should have been like, I want to hit this spot. I want to hit this jump. Like thinking about it differently, or you just go, I don't know, it wasn't in me.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think about that sometimes. I try to be like, no regrets, because I think it's pointless. I look at where my life is now and I'm so happy. Like I've got a family that's like super supportive and I love, and like beautiful children, and I still get to snowboard and like get to work in like the industry. And so it's hard to look back on things and be like, oh, I should have done it differently, because I'm really happy, where I am now. I think sometimes I'm like, I should have tried a little harder or cared more. I think, I don't know. I just like didn't have the confidence, like when I stopped, like when I went to go work at Salomon and I quit, it was like, it sounds dumb because there was never any weight on my shoulders, but like, I felt like this weight was lifted and I snowboarded way better and it was more fun. And like, I don't know, the way that I ended up getting paid, like how it all started, I feel like I just stumbled into everything, Like when I moved out to Mammoth, Susie Flores was like, all right, you're here, like, here's a contract for Monix. Like that was my first contract. And I think I literally said to her, or maybe I was like too embarrassed to say, but I was like, what do I do?
Yeah. I mean, that is probably one of the weirdest parts of that job is like, I think that's a constant question in my brain currently. You're just like, how do you do this job good still or something?
Here's some money.
Yeah.
Now just go ahead and figure it out.
Yeah. I never had anybody that like sat me down and was like, all those pros that you see like in those videos and in these magazines, like you can do that. Like you have got what it takes. And like, if you work hard, like you have a chance. And I kind of like that no one did that to me. I think if somebody had, I would have been like, oh, I get it more. But I think all the guys at Eastern Border, they were just kind of like, fuck that. They were always just like, who cares? Like it was just like, go out and do it. And like, don't, it's not like about like the glory or like anything or whatever. It was just about like being legit and core and like, it was for you. I don't know.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, we just talked about Tanner Pendleton. We have a guest question from the man himself. Here we go.
Hi, Quigs. It's Tanner. I miss you and love you. I wanted to ask about your decision to pursue working behind the scenes in snowboarding as opposed to being a snowboarder yourself. And I guess I'm curious if that sort of allowed you to retain some love for just the act of snowboarding in itself, removing yourself one step, I guess. Love you all. Have fun.
I love Tanner so much. And so, yeah, when I transitioned into working, I tore my knee. I went on like a terrible trip, like a filming trip. It was for Snowboarder. And it was pretty awful. And I tore my knee and I was just kind of like, I'm not having fun. Like I wasn't enjoying snowboarding. I wasn't liking it. And so I was like, I think I'm ready for like a new chapter. And yeah, I applied for 2 jobs. Like one was at Salomon and Bonfire and one was at Nike. And ended up at Salomon and Bonfire, obviously. And it was just fun. Like it was like summer camp and doing whatever I wanted. And actually like, right after I started, they sent me to Alaska on like a trip with Transworld. And I just like always was living like hand to mouth, like, like making my contract stretch. And it was never like a concept like, oh, I could go to Alaska or do whatever. And I went on this like full boondoggle with a pretty epic crew. And when I got up there, I was like, it's scary. I was like a little gripped, but in a weird way, totally calm. And I remember like the first line we dropped in on up there, like we did the wall and stuff in Valdez and like watching it like the TV movies. I was like weirdly very calm. And at the top of that, I was like, this is what I should have been doing, I think. like hitting rails and stuff. I was like, I was just doing it because we were from Mass and like that was what you had access to. And like Alaska, what? Like even the West Coast, I was like, I'm not like going there. Yeah, and it was, that was such an epic crew at Salomon and Bonfire also. And like, it was like brand new. And
What was your position?
I started as like a PR and marketing coordinator. And then Brad Stewart called me because I'd also applied for the Salomon Bonfire job. And like, I didn't really remember meeting him when I was a kid, but he was just like laughing and so chill on the phone. And he was like talking about when he like interviewed me for something and I didn't really remember it. And he was just so funny. And he was like, are you gonna like fucking come up here and work for us or what? Like that was like how he like said it. And I was like, oh my God, yes, this is the right place for me. And like, that was so fun. Tanner was filming, Hava, Kevin, Amy, like the whole crew.
That was like such a big moment, that Salomon kind of like chunk where it was just like, oh shit, like kind of felt like really big deal, and probably to be a part of the back end of that was exciting, where it's like everything's good.
Yeah, it was so cool and so fun, and like I felt so privileged to be there. Like you were on the team, Chris. Like what that team did, like taking a French ski brand and making it cool is insane. Like, and the whole crew, like our director Noah Lee was like so rad. Phil and Jill were like the finance people.
Yeah,
they were at our wedding.
Yeah, they're so
like
great.
I love them. Like it was like, it was a small crew. It was like eight of us or something. And like, we just loved each other, like had fun. It was like a great time. That was such a cool time. I mean, like before I went to work there, being at summer camp, like you guys, that whole team, that moment in snowboarding, it was like the Salomon team, I feel like was doing like the raddest, not just like some of the best snowboarding, but like just the team was insane. But like you guys were having the most fun by far, it seemed like, and so to be there all of a sudden, I was like very fish out of water, but like very grateful and very excited and just like, whatever, anything you want me to do, I'll do it.
What was it like working with Hava at that time?
Hava actually, like, I love Hava. He's so great. And when I moved up there, actually, I had like a long-term like breakup. So it was like a weird like moment in my life, but it was great because I like made the break and got away and needed to do that. And he was on team vacation, like it had just started. So he was like, just live at my apartment. And so I didn't know Hava super well. Like we knew each other, but then all of a sudden I was like, new city, new job. I'm sleeping in his bed. Working with him was super fun. I mean, Hava's like the ultimate like fun maker, He's also like dad, kind of. Like you also don't want to piss him off,
Yeah.
And, but he's like, 95% of the time, I think like the most fun person to be around and like, just making fun like for everybody.
He's big on the horn too. Hava was always big on like honking, which is pretty fun.
Yeah.
And I remember driving around this time, like downtown Portland, and he would just hold the horn down for like 30 seconds at a time. And I remember there's this one time this like guy's like he's like yells from the sidewalk. He's like you asshole, whatever. And then Hava just rolls his window down. He's like, sorry, the horn's broken. And then proceeds to hold it down for like, and everybody's so embarrassed. But yeah, like we were just dipshits everywhere we'd go. And we had a giant RV, goddamn Salomon RV with like my shitty drawing on the side of it.
Yeah.
Like it was crazy.
Yeah, Hava's got like the best disappointed dad yell. We were riding Meadows one time. We came back from the Dirksen Derby and it was me, Ami, Hava, and Tanner, I think. I think it was this day. And like it was nuking. And so we stopped in Govey, stayed there, and rode Meadows the next day. And I accidentally took fright trees to the bottom. And it was so deep. Like I was swimming and I kind of got stuck behind like a down tree. And they were kind of worried, like got ski patrol. It was like that kind of conditions. And I didn't emerge. And so like, when I came out, there were like 5 ski patrollers like looking for me in that field. And I was like just swimming, trying to get out. And as soon as Hava saw me, packed lift line, he's yelling. He's like, just like dad voice, like, what are you doing? I told you. Like, and like, I don't know, like I can't do Hava's like dad voice, but super funny, but you're also mortified,
It's like, God damn it, Colleen.
Yeah. But the RV was sick. I mean, I was like pretty young. And when I got there, I was like, wait, so what's up with this RV? And they were back from the tour after a while, and Chris Mulcahy was the driver, and Hava could drive it. It was 38 feet, so you didn't need your CDL. Like, that's the limit. I think it's 40 feet for a CDL. And so I was like, hold on a second. I can drive this thing? Like if I learn how to drive it? And they were like, yeah, please learn how to drive it. Like Hava was like, I don't want to drive that thing. And so I learned how to drive it, and then I'd take it up to camp and like use it and stuff. And it was awesome.
From an outsider's perspective, it felt like, you know, Salomon was obviously like a big company, successful, but it felt, there's not many times in the industry where it felt like this huge company kind of just had a bunch of money and success, gave it to like certain types of people that were like very willing, I mean, to be playful with it, you know, where you don't really see anything that loose. Like I still don't even feel like I've seen many brands go that loose, and then it succeeded really well, where it's like, oh, that's maybe a little bit, I mean, it was a good mix of people, but it was from the outside being like, damn, they got a really good thing going, and it doesn't feel too prescribed or like constructed joke. It was more just like, whoa, like that's working.
Yeah, I kind of missed like the heyday of snowboarding, like contracts a little bit. Like some of my best friends, like Hannah and Leanne, and those guys are just like a couple years older than me, where like they were like in it when it was crazy. But I feel like I caught the tail end of it with Salomon, and Salomon was unique in the way that kind of a perfect circumstance of a big French brand that made the decision to launch snowboards, and Brad Stewart was able to convince them that like it had to have autonomy in order for it to work, or it was dead in the water. And so I think like under the umbrella of this huge brand, they had the resources and the budget, but also the brand was like looking the other way. They didn't really care. They were like, you're doing what in Oregon right now? Like, okay. And so there were a lot of resources, and it was definitely like sharing the resources and like the love. And it was like, you know, like I said, they sent me to Valdez like right after starting. It was insane. And I was, just like, I can't believe I'm here. This is so fun. And it was like just a cool time. The content was like really fun. Yeah.
And also, if you think about too, a lot of times with brands and brand managers that have been in the game for a long time, they do things that are safe. They do things that they know, where you have Hava, who's just getting this job as a marketing position. He sees Tanner, and he sees some potential in Tanner. He says, we're going to bring you on full time. And Tanner's trying to make his name as a filmmaker. All these young riders like Jed and Bodie and Luif and Desiree and myself are all kind of just trying to figure out how to make it. So there's this kind of collective energy of people who were all pretty fresh, that were all trying to figure it out and kind of coming up at the same time, where there wasn't that old jaded marketing manager that's been in there for 50 years. It's like,
this is how we did it. Fucking
exactly. Yeah. And I think that kind of energy collectively, but that kind of makes me want to pivot. This is a good question. We have a Patreon question about this, because I felt like Hava was always great at finding talent. And
he's like the best, I feel like.
You've had to do that yourself. So Lance Hacker, shout out to our Patreon members. Thank you so much to everybody that supports the show. Lance asks, you seem to be a good judge of talent. What is your philosophy on assessing a rider?
Ooh, that's a big question. I mean, I learned a lot from Hava. Like, and there are things that go on in Hava's brain that I don't think any of us will ever know and understand, you know, but like watching him, I think, and like what he built at Salomon, for me, it was like, and I mean, the old contracts were like in the drawer there. And like Benedict, sorry, a little quick sidetrack. Ami went to Baldface last winter, and Benedict was there. And I love him. And I was like, get his autograph for me. And he came home with Benedict's autograph. But you look through the drawer and you're like, dang, like Arnie, like Scotty Arnold and Benedict. And you're like, all the people that like Hava had to make, like those are really hard decisions. And those are like insanely like iconic, legendary, like amazing people that, you know, like in that moment, like anybody who's had to do this, and like Hava had to do this, like, you know, you're kind of like ending their snowboard career. But for Hava, like the vision of what he was building with you guys is definitely like, pretty incredible and pretty special. And I kind of just tried to observe, and I think one big takeaway I had from that was that it's not like about being the best, you know? Like if you want to do that, like you can go do it for Nike and like ramp up their snowboard team before an Olympics. season. And sorry, I just like have to stop and say, John Weaver, I love you so much. That was not a slam. You are also incredible at doing what you do. Hi to Marika and the kids. I love you guys.
We love Weaver.
We love Weaver, Coach Weaver. But you know what I mean? Like Nike, their ethos is like winning. Like they want to win. And like that was not what Salomon was about. And like I watched like the power of like what you guys were doing. And I remember when you were trying to get on Salomon, and like it was this really cool group of individuals that were like all doing their unique thing, really talented snowboarders. But like together you guys were like a unit, and your presence was felt, and it just like drove a lot of energy and excitement, like culture and snowboarding. And so for me, like it's it's part like talent, like you have to have it, you know, because and honestly, like sometimes you don't have to be anywhere near the best, like, but it's kind of like, does the team work together? You know, like you get them in a room and is it like fun? Like, are you in the party and it's like fun to be around them, or is it like kind of awkward? Like they don't really know each other, like they don't really have anything in common. But yeah, when I went to go work at Dakine, originally I went there to be the director of digital. It was like a new position they had. They had been sold like years before by Billabong, and they were on like Billabong's proprietary website platform. And like you guys have done this, like, you know, like you don't build websites like without using a platform, you know, but it was on this like crazy thing that like no coder, the backend developer could figure out how to do anything. So we had to get off of it, and they needed a lot of help with like email marketing. There was like no SEO paid or anything like that. So I went there, did that for like a year, and then ended up taking over the snow marketing, and then eventually being brand director there. The company went through so many changes while I was there. But in that process, we kind of needed to like part ways with some people and bring on some new people. But in the parting ways is definitely like the toughest part of the job that like still weighs on me.
Colleen put me on.
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, it was like...
You saw talent in Bryan?
No, I mean, I had been fired already once, and then she just put me back on the team.
Second
like
chance.
A year later. She's a proponent of second chances.
Yeah, Bryan was on our accessories team, and he's great. Like, you are one of the most, I think, professional people to work with, which is like a huge relief and makes people at the brand like their lives way easier. Yeah. Like, it's hard when you have somebody who's like an amazing person, really talented, but like you can't get them to return a phone call or an email. Then you're like, what are we doing? We're just like throwing money away. It's not working. And but yeah, like Jill, I mean, I just saw Jill riding from the chairlift at summer camp, and I forget who I was on the lift with, but I was like, who is that? And I saw her riding down Palmer, and like I literally was like, who is that person? And they were like, oh, that's Jill Perkins. And I think it was like her first summer at camp or something. Like, I don't really know. And so then I rode down, and immediately I like went to one of the staff, and I was like, hey, who's that girl? Like, they were like, yeah, that's Jill. Like, and I was like, can you introduce me? And I just like cold, like awkward style, like introduced myself to her. And and then just kind of like started building the relationship. I just like saw her snowboard, and I was like, she's an insane snowboarder. And I think she's like, just a great person.
Was she riding for anyone at the time?
So I think like that Tanner McCarty was giving her ride boards.
Already?
Yeah.
But no outerwear, like...
No.
At this point, you hadn't heard of her ever.
I'd never heard of her. Yeah. And so I hit up Tanner, and I was like, hey, what gives? And I don't think he was paying her or anything. And then we had some like non-technical like shoots and things that we did like at Dakine where we just needed some content. And so that was like an easy way to start like getting her some paychecks, be like, hey, do you want to go like on this shoot? And so she started getting some paychecks, and then pretty quickly it escalated to like, you're on.
One thing I was thinking of as you were talking about scouting for talent, it almost sounds like it's like, I don't know what I'm looking for, but I'll know it when I see it.
Yeah, exactly. And Lance asked that question. Lance is also so great and awesome, and it was so cool that we got to work together like very briefly before I left Dakine. But that's like another one, like him and his brother, that like I never really knew the Hackers that well, but like was a huge fan of like what they did, you know, for so long. And it's such like a fun, amazing community where like this much time could pass where like, you know, I've been like a fan of, you know, like Meyer and the Hackers and like everything they were doing for like a long time. And then all of a sudden I'm like, you know, in my mid 30s, all of a sudden like working with Lance.
and it's so fun, you know?
Yeah, those boys, like, from where I grew up in Southern California, him and his brother and, like, Nima Jalali and those kids were definitely, like, the most legit young dudes where you're just like, oh, those guys know what's up. They have all the cool
was the cool
yeah.
shit.
And then they went on to, like, create cool brands and, kind of just do great stuff in the industry. And they are, like, in some ways you're just like, oh, they just must know. I don't know. People like that, you're like, same with Hava, where you're like, I don't even know where Hava came from snowboard wise. Like, I don't even know if Hava really snowboards.
He's from Kansas.
Hava basically blows his knee out every time he straps in.
Yeah. Do you remember at the rat race? I tell the story.
I mean, I don't feel great about it, but I think it was the first rat race, maybe. It was, right?
It was, yeah.
I think he's blown his knee out at 2 rat races. But the first one, I think it was when he was already working for Nike, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
And so Austin knew him, and he had already become this, like, character in the industry that everyone, like, admired him but kind of clowned on him too, you know? Like, he was, like, an easy person to make fun of because he talks so much shit that he, like, can take it really well. And someone was like, someone needs to, like, go first, you know, like, be a pre-runner, like, forerun the course. And he's like, yeah, I'll do it. And then everyone starts chanting his name. You know, everyone's chanting, like, Hava, Hava. And it's
like, how many people? It was like
lot.
Hundreds of people.
It felt like 200 people chanting Hava's name. And this was the first year where, like, it was rock fucking solid.
You salted
like,
it.
Yeah, because at some point, I don't know who it was, somebody who was like a contest kid was like, you need to salt this course or there's no way it's going to be even time-wise. Because we just had it all slush at the time. It's like midsummer. So we salted it probably like way too much. It's straight brick. Everyone's chanting Hava's name. Hava drops in, probably makes it down like 6 whoops and completely demolishes himself, blows his knee out, and has to be basically like dragged off the course.
And so the rat race was born.
Yeah, literally, like that, like kind of set the tone where like we felt bad, but then also everyone was so excited about him eating shit so hard that it did propel us to be like, all right, all the courses are gonna be fucked, like totally fucked the whole time. This will be like our thing.
It wasn't just a bank slalom, like you guys had a whoop section, which is not common.
Yeah, moto style was our.
We have a guest question that pertains to this in some way at the end from Jill Perkins. Here we go.
What's up, Amal? Hey, Colleen. I'm stoked to see you on the show. Been waiting for this one for a while. I am such a huge fan of your snowboarding, but maybe even a bigger fan of the way that you show up in the workplace and really advocate for snowboarding and people in the outdoor space on a core level. It's been a pleasure to work with you, and I guess one of my main questions, or only question, I guess, would be the ups and downs that you've struggled with, maybe transitioning from a snowboarder into a workplace and what that looked like. And then also, secondly, any advice you have for other women wanting to do the same. I hope you guys have fun. Best of luck. And don't forget when I beat you at the rat race. That was a good day. Also, maybe I kind of want to know the worst brand that you ever worked for and why.
All right.
Okay, bye.
4-part question?
Yeah, I gotta try to remember those. Yeah, Jill is obviously, no one needs to be told this, like a infinitely better snowboarder than me. So like I go to these bank slaloms and I'm like, yeah, I'm having fun. I'm like off his legs there, and like the snowboarders show up and I'm like, ooh, I'll go sit down over here. Okay, so the transition, yeah, like people will sometimes say to me like, oh, your transition, it was so seamless. And that's not how it felt at all. Like it was really hard. Like I think for 2 or 3 years in the end, I was like kind of over it, like didn't want to do it anymore, but like didn't know what to do. And that was just kind of hard to be like kind of stuck, you know, like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And luckily, like not going to college, like wasn't really an option for me. Like like my parents would let me do whatever, but like I had kind of just like said that I was doing it. And so like I made sure that like I applied, I got in, and I deferred. And so like I ended up going through school while I was snowboarding. So I felt always like I had a backup plan, and I knew I would need a backup plan. You know, I felt like I knew from the beginning, like I can't go like all in on this. And so I was like, towards the end, all right, like, what can I do? I feel like the hardest part to break through is like, you got to show the people at the brands that you have a work ethic and you can do it. Like Chris, like we were talking about it before the show, but like watching you set up this like whole thing and watching it just like pervasively like spread excitement through the whole snowboard community has been insane and really cool to watch. And yeah, I'm really proud of you.
Thanks, C-Quigs.
And but like I think if you went to a brand and you asked like, hey, I want to do a snowboard podcast, can I get some money to do it? They'd be like, no, like you have to do it yourself and prove that you can do it. And it's kind of sad, but like I think a lot of brands think of riders in that way. They put them kind of like over here. They're like, yeah, you're good at that. But like, I don't know that you can hang in the office. Because to be fair, like it is a pretty hard thing to do to like park yourself at a desk for like 8-9 hours a day and just like grind through emails and like a lot of stuff you don't want to do, to be honest. And so I thought about like, what could I do to start to prove that? And Pat Bridges, I think, is like another person that just like Eastern border guy, always I feel like has like a soft spot for like kids from New England. And I do feel like Pat like always looked out for me and still continues to do that, and like took me like under his wing in like a lot of ways where I always felt like I could go to him, you know, if I needed something or I was like in a crisis of some sort or I just needed advice. And I remember talking to him and just being like, I'm like, I got to do something else and I don't know how to do it. And so he hit me up to write a couple stories. And like, that's kind of how it started. So I was still snowboarding, but I was over it. And the deal was kind of like, if I went on like the trip, I could snowboard and write the story. And I think that just seeing like my name in print, like that I had an assignment to write a story and they were not good. Like it was awful. I remember like T-Bird, like at the time T-Bird and I were like living together in San Clemente with like my ex and Reed Kasner, and like I'd write these like absolute garbage like articles, you know, for these trips, and he'd be like, yeah, you know what would be like a funny like closer for this, and bring it full circle. And then like he would give me like all the pieces that were kind of like needed to like have it be like actually a tolerable thing to read. And like, yeah, like I think that kind of started to be like enough where people were like, okay, like Colleen can like take an assignment, deliver it on time, and then like something is produced from it, you know? And yeah, and then I just like, I tore my knee in the spring on a trip, and then like kind of took the summer, and then that fall I started like thinking about like jobs, and that's when I applied to 2 jobs, yeah, Salomon and Bonfire being the one. And both were in Oregon, which was pretty funny. I was living in San Clemente, like having a like crisis in my late 20s.
So going back to the 4 parts of that question, so you covered that she beat you,
but you beat her a lot.
But yeah, I want to go back to that.
I don't think I have. Like she doesn't really go to those. Like I don't know how many times she was even at the rat race, and I definitely remember like, and when Haley showed up too. Like they're just good snowboarders. I'm like, I don't have a chance. And then
on the other side though, I feel like there was like, or maybe she was just making this up or something, but it felt like it was like, I beat Colleen. Like it was like,
like yeah, she's in the office. You're the pro. Yeah, like that's what you're supposed to do. Why are you bragging about? But Colleen is a weapon in the bank slalom.
Yeah.
I think that's like what's fun for me. Like you walk off the desk and it's like fun to be in the line with everybody like at the top and to give them a run for their money. And like, to be clear, like doing the Dirksen Derby or bank slalom doesn't make you like anywhere near in the same universe as snowboarding as they are, but it's like fun to like have some healthy competition. Jill may have been like that because I feel like the healthy competition between Desiree and I like bordered on extremely unhealthy at times. And because like Jill and Desiree became friends, I wonder if Jill just like got it into her head that she was like, Colleen must go down because Desiree would like,
this is my time.
Yeah. I know that like, and yeah, in the last one that like Desiree and I were at, like we were laughing. I was pregnant actually like with Ellie, I think. And she beat me at the Dirksen Derby and she was so happy. And I was so happy because I was like, I was pregnant. Nobody knew, but I was like, her joy in beating me just like brought me so much joy. So it was like a different place in my life.
Sounds
Did
like
you
a lie.
did you mention you're like,
truly. Other years I was like, no.
yeah. I mean, you're pregnant though, so can you really celebrate that? Anyway.
Yeah. You notice how I slipped that in?
Yeah. Yeah. But just to kind of cover one of the 4 points, advice for someone that wants to pursue a job in the industry. You kind of covered it, but just.
Yeah. I mean, I think like you gotta show that you love it and like you love the community. I think that the worst thing is when you have people who end up at brands in like instrumental roles that control like power of like how this community shows up, who don't truly care. So I think like caring about it is number one. Like you have to love it and kind of maybe love it more than anything else. And I think anybody asking that question or wondering that question to themselves, like that is true. And then I think just like showing, you got to also prove yourself. Like if you're a rider or even if you're not, that like you got to kind of like find your angle into like a more like professional type avenue where people understand that like that you can make it happen on your own, like if you need to, and prove that you're kind of like, gonna be an asset basically.
Like it. You mentioned T-Bird helping you out with the story. We got a guest question from T-Bird as well. Let's hit this one. Here we go.
What's happening, Bombhole crew? Been enjoying the episodes lately. And Colleen, hello. It's me, T-Bird. As a fellow East Coaster and also a fellow redhead, I'm wondering, who are your top 3 redheaded snowboarders of all time?
Birdman. I love T-Bird. Tom's a great example of somebody like from the East Coast who just like was riding at Plymouth and not like the best snowboarder and like involved at Eastern Borders. Great snowboarder, but not like he wasn't going to be pro. I don't think. I'm sorry if those were your aspirations.
Compliment sandwich.
But like insanely.
I mean, not the best snowboarder. It's okay.
Insanely smart, talented. Like Eamon Rivera. Sorry, like Eamon was like sick, and like T-Bird was great, but like not. Like he just figured it out. Like he clearly decided like he loved it. We all knew it. Like he figured out his angle in, and he's insanely smart and talented. And he just like, I don't fully know the story, but I'm pretty sure he just like volunteered to be like I think was he Ben Fee's intern like originally with like bridges and stuff. And I don't even know if it was like a paying job. And he was just like, I'm just gonna do this. And he's a really talented writer and like and he just like shadowed those guys and did that and kind of like worked his way in and has had like an amazing career and given so much to the community. But
top 3 redheads.
Yeah, I know. I forget like easily. It did come back to me though. I should be prepared for this question. It gets asked like a lot, but all right, who are we working with here? We got Shaun White and Danimals.
Pat Moore.
Is Shaun White true red?
Park Zoom. Shaun White?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Of course, dude. It's like
the most fiery, the reddest
dude.
of the red.
It's full red lettuce.
People lately have been saying like, that brunette over there to me. And my whole life I've wanted to not be called a redhead. And now that it's happening, I'm like, that feels weird. I don't think I like that. I love, Pat is like, had an insane career. So sick. I met Pat on the chairlift at Waterville when he was like 12. And I forget who was sitting next to us, but they were basically like, Colleen, this is Pat. Pat's going to be like an icon. Just wait. He's a legend in the making. And I was like, he's 12.
Like, hi, I'm Pat.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
He was probably like,
he didn't say a word.
He's right.
Like didn't say anything, I don't think. A huge fan of Danimals, Park Zoom. I mean, like
so
Parker.
We needed 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
So this has got to be, this is formal.
Sorry. Okay. So there's 4 total and I just need to drop somebody off.
Yeah.
No.
I like the 3 that you just said. I mean, just drop Shaun.
Like, does
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, if it's my favorites, like, it's not Shaun. Like you can't deny like what he's done and how good he is. But was he somebody ever that I was like, it's my people, it's my redheaded snowboard people? No.
So who's you? Just go pick 1, pick 2, pick 3.
Pat, I think, just like Parker. Just watching him in the last couple of years has been so fun. Like, I mean, he's been crushing it, and I love watching him snowboard. And Danimals has like been a favorite for so many years. Does Red Gerard have red hair? Like, I feel like he dyes it blonde, but I don't really know.
I've never really put him in that box.
Haven't really thought of him as being a redhead.
That's a marketing. I think it's just
marketing
his name.
thing. Yeah,
you're right. It's like when you see the red car and you see more of them or whatever.
Now that we're like talking about it, like there aren't any coming up.
Harrison.
Oh yeah,
oh
Harrison,
my God,
aka
Harrison,
Ronald McDonald,
and he's got the most hair too. It's
you know what? I'm sorry, I'm going back. I'm putting Harrison in my top spot.
Okay,
I'm so sorry, Harrison.
So Harrison Gordon, P1.
Yes, and
so
then
who
Pat,
are we dropping?
We're dropping Danimals, sadly. Yeah,
okay,
love Danimals.
So just
vibes, 100% Harrison.
He's the best person.
Harrison Gordon, Pat Moore, Parker Zoom. That's your top 3.
Yeah.
Whew. That's elite.
That's good.
Favorites.
That's elite.
Do you feel like Parker is like the person holding down East Coast snowboarding vibe?
He's committed.
Do you feel that way? Like, I feel like when I see him, even here, like there's like a grit to Zoom that you're like he's still hard edged East Coast, you know, like, and he's kind of still like a little bit of a punk in a social scenario. I don't know. It's like nice when I see him. I'm like, yeah, that's still like this person from this area, which sometimes the snowboard industry now feels like everybody's kind of like when I hear you guys talking about Eastern Border back in the day, you're like, do we really have that like separation anymore? Because of the internet makes everything like a little bit homogenized. I don't know. Either way.
Parker's definitely not soft.
No.
You know?
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Fucking animal.
Yeah.
He's worked so hard.
Oh, yeah. He was just ripping the contest, too, Becky's. It was
I
great.
saw that.
Yeah. It was great. You definitely move out west and get soft. I mean, at least speaking for myself, it happens. It's you're not proud of it, but it happens. At least that's happened to me. But I'm going to pivot into a section of the show here that is called, you know what it's called, Bryan?
I'm guessing it's called Name That Video Part.
How you feeling?
Subterranean.
0 to 10. What's your confidence level?
0 unless there is a lower
I mean,
option.
you could go negative if you want.
Like, you could straight up be like,
This was your video part.
My video part. No, I'm not joking. On the drive over here, Ami was like, do you even remember like what songs? And I was like, no, that was so long ago. I don't.
Chris
this is
like,
going to be a disaster.
It's like going to be a complete disaster. I'm so sorry.
All right, let's just get this over with then. Let's rip the Band-Aid off. Here we go.
I'm not like everybody else.
Could have been one of mine. It's definitely from a Peep Show film. No.
Maybe, but originally I don't think that's the first use of it. You are in this video. I'll give you that. It's not your video part though, so I don't want you to throw that out there.
No. This is going to be a huge embarrassment for me that like goes on for a long time, I'm sure.
How about this? Let's give you a couple crumbles so we can maybe give you a win because I want to give you the bomb hole prize.
So
back.
is it for the hell of it?
It's the one after that's made by the same person, which is called the Eastern Border video, which you knew. This rider's redheaded. It's last part in the video. You're in the video. You share first part with Tanner. Redheaded rider. It's from New Hampshire.
Pat, I guess. No.
That's not correct.
It's
Keep
not,
going.
like-
Another redheaded rider from New Hampshire that you've mentioned that was on
Parker?
Salomon. That was on
Salomon.
back in the day, driving around filming. You might think this is for the hell of it, but it's the video, the Eastern Border video, which is right after.
I'm looking at Bryan. I feel like Bryan
This
knows
is bad.
everything.
This is a disaster. There's people
this is
punching their
complete-
there's people punching their steering wheel in their
All
car.
the people you mentioned from
When you
Eastern
s-
Border are like, God, fuck it.
When you said there's like a editing,
Yeah, we're not gonna edit this out. We're not editing any of this out. It's all going in. His first name's Chris. His last name is the opposite of a truck. It's
drive it around.
Drive it around.
He jumps off things into bushes.
Yep, he mentioned
Carr,
it.
Jesus Christ.
Yep, Chris Carr. You got it right.
Hold up. You like, hold on.
prize
No. Sorry. That's
Right.
like so, he is not a redhead.
Is he not
He's
redhead?
blonde.
I think some people might
I'm
consider
like,
him redhead.
who is
Who has red hair from New Hampshire other than Pat Moore?
I think Chris Carr's a redhead.
No, he has blonde hair, straight up. He's like platinum blonde.
I'm going to text him. I'm texting him right now. While I text
he has a red beard. Red beard,
you consider
blonde hair.
yourself a red, Chris?
I'm going to get. So congratulations, you kind of won the Bomb Hole gift pack and also the Turtlebox speaker. But I'm going to text Chris Carr
I was just like
quick.
hung up on like Pat Moore. Who else? Redhead from New Hampshire. Oh, wow. Thank you so much.
Colleen, you also get a Turtlebox speaker in addition to the Bomb Hole gear. I got one of these in my house. They bump. And I've never charged one of them that I have. The battery has up to 20 hours of life, which is pretty incredible. They're waterproof. You can chuck it in the bathtub if you want. And the coolest thing that I love about this speaker is that you can connect two of them. So you're having a party, you're entertaining. Maybe it's summer. Maybe you got some people outside by the barbecue. Maybe you got some people inside. You can connect them. That's the best part of them. So Turtlebox supports the show. They just supported the event we did on the East Coast, Bomb Hole Beatdown. They're supporting snowboarding. So be sure to check out the Turtlebox speaker if you're looking at getting a new speaker. And congratulations on kind of winning Name That Video part.
This is amazing. Thank you so much. We're in like a new-ish house, moved like a year and a half ago. So we will definitely put this to really good use. Thank you.
Perfect. I also got a text back from Chris Carr. I said, would you consider yourself a redhead? He replied, getting some flashes of white lightning these days. I said, need an official answer. He said, my beard is red without question. My hair has some red in it, but not red like Colleen. So I said, so it's safe to say you could be considered a redhead, yes or no? Kind of baiting him on that.
Yeah, it's leading.
And he said, I don't consider myself one, but some people have said they think it is red. So I think going back to your point, I will give you some credit. I'll give you some credit that the redhead could be misleading. So, I'll give you a little bit of grace in that atrocity of a Name That Video part.
Yeah, I mean, I got to be like bottom of the dumpster in performance on that. However, when you were like redhead from New Hampshire and I'm like, Pat's like not like, doesn't have like a part in that video. And I'm like, what? And you were like older, like, and I was like, oh my God, is there some sort of like New Hampshire legend that I'm just like blanking on right now? And I'm going to be so embarrassed. But yeah. He's got a big red beard.
I'll give you a pass on my misleading information.
Yeah, I mean, we agree. I'm awful.
I wish it would have been Ami's video part that you couldn't remember.
Yeah,
I was prepared. I was prepared though.
In hindsight, I should have gone with your own video part because there's a pretty elite category of people who haven't got their own. Shaun White, Jamie Anderson. I can't remember who else. It's only really elites.
Yeah. So it would have been 2 out of 3 redheads don't know their own video part.
Yeah, that's a fact. Part 2 of Name That Video part is for our listeners. If you know the song, comment on the photo of Colleen on our Instagram. That's where we pick our winner. And here we go. Okay. Thank you guys for playing Name That Video part.
Boom! Nitro Snowboards is back at your favorite snowboard shop. Nitro was founded over 34 years ago by a couple of snowboarders and is owned and operated and run by snowboarders today. Supporting the snowboard culture through responsible business practice by supporting the shops first and developing some of the best boards, boots, and bindings over the last 34 seasons is why Nitro is still around and why we want to keep being here. Nitro co-founder Tommy DeLago said it best, anyone who takes the time to learn how to snowboard is a snowboarder and part of the Nitro family. Nitro has been supporting team riders since day one, and the team is stacked with a global presence of over 40 riders, from Sam Taxwood, Aero Etala, Brian Fox, Marcus Cleveland, Haley Langwin, Elias Elhart, Griffin Siebert, Christy Pryor, Sean Miskimen, Torgeir Berger, Brantley Mullins, Benny Urban, Chuan Lee, Dominic Wagner, and a new member to the Nitro family, Iris Pham, people. Let's go. So what are you waiting for? Vote with your dollars this season and support a company whose mission is to support the snowboard community, the people, and the culture. Pick up your new Nitro snowboard gear from your favorite local snowboard shop this season.
All right, we're going to take a quick intermission here to talk to you about our good friends over at Pub Beer, who just happen to be the official beer of questionable decision-making and cheap fun. That's right. You heard it here first. Whether you're just having a couple, maybe you're watching the game, Pub Beer's a great option. Cheap fun. Maybe you need 50. Did you just get dumped? Pub Beer's got you covered. Cheap fun every time. Pub Beer.
We didn't talk about this, but you spent some time in Mammoth.
Yeah, that was definitely like a big chapter of my life, I think. Also, I kind of like lump it into just the years I was snowboarding, but but yeah, like I graduated high school. I deferred to college for a year, so I knew I had like 1 year. And Mammoth was at the time like where everything exciting was happening. I feel like everybody was flocking there. It was like the grenade heyday. Those guys would like all come to the East Coast for the Open, so you got a taste of it. And I was like, I'm gonna move to Mammoth. And actually, like, I'm not even sure if it was even my idea or I was thinking about it. Actually, like Shane Flood single-handedly convinced me to move to Mammoth. I had a 2-door Toyota Tercel. And I just told my parents, like, I'm taking a gap year and I'm going to Mammoth, you know, and they were like, all right, good luck. And I didn't know anyone. And I questioned this decision so much. But, like, I remember, I think I had already decided I was going, but, like, we've talked about this a bunch, but when people come through the East Coast with, like, events or tours or brands show up there and they bring riders, like, it's so huge. When you're a kid and you're, like, just so excited to see these people. I was working at the Nashua shop and Vans was doing a retail tour, and the Vans team came through and we weren't sure if they were coming. They were like maybe going to come, but like we didn't really know. And they come through and Hannah Beeman was with them, and I had never met her before, but was like a big fan. And yeah, like she was like the girl with the grenade crew, I feel like, also at the time. And yeah, we just kind of were like chatting, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna come to Mammoth next year. And she was like, well, look me up when you get there. I was like, okay, sure. And she was super nice and really cool. But yeah, then like Shane was kind of the one that was like, just do it, just don't think about it, just go, like don't question it, just go. And so like really I just like packed up my car. My dad drove me to Omaha, and then he flew home. So we drove together, and yeah, like I got out there. I didn't know anyone. He was the only person I knew, which is crazy. And he was like, I'll set you up with like a girl I know. It's a girl named Cassie, and they need a roommate. And so I like moved in with Cassie and like her friends, and yeah, ended up just like spending the year there. And then I go back and forth for college. Like I do winters in Mammoth, and then I go back before the summer semester started. I do like a full summer semester, which was kind of like, I don't know, like 1 foot in, 1 foot out of both worlds, because like I always knew I had to go back to school. I go back to school and I'd be in summer classes, and like no one was there. The only people that were there for summer classes were like kids that like had to make up credits or something, or like people who were trying to like do like extra or get into certain programs where they like had to do it. And so like there'd be like 5 people in the class, you know? And so I was kind of just like solo often. And then I do a regular fall semester with just like all the college kids. But I couldn't really join any like clubs or sports or anything, because I would like, at that point when I went back to school, I was getting paid to snowboard. And so like I'd have like trips often in the fall. Like we do like a catalog shoot in like October, maybe another trip or something. And I wanted like that flexibility. And then often like the sports and things like that, they're the full year. So yeah, and then I'd basically like take finals in December and go back out to Mammoth, drive my car back and forth. Yeah.
Cool. Now that you're like a parent, you know, it's going to be a couple years here, but like, do you feel like you will be able to like stomach that moment when your kid is 18 and goes like, you know, because maybe they're going to be into something like you were into snowboarding that you won't really understand, that you'll be able to be like, okay, like, I guess I'm going to drive you to Louisiana, drop you off, and be like, good luck with life. Like, do you feel like you're like, okay, I could do that, or does that seem insane now?
Yeah, I mean, well, like we're kind of going through it with Amelie. Like she's about to turn 21. She's in college, which is like trippy.
And I think like there's an element of like with Amelie we did this, but like we're doing it for sure and going to do it with Ellie and Alvy, like kind of forced fun, I call it, like trying to get them to like do the things that like we love and enjoy. And like a lot of it's like sharing that, but like some of it's like I really want to go snowboarding with them. And like, that's kind of selfish, but like,
if you don't have like a good back seven, you don't get dinner kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely no dessert, but like, but yeah, I mean, in the end, like you can't force them. They're going to do whatever they want to do. Yeah. So
I don't know if you're like my wife. She doesn't actually like to talk about the kids growing up. That's something that's totally forbidden in our household.
Yeah. People always ask like, how are the kids? And I always say basically the same thing. Like they're doing great. They're thriving. I wish they would stop growing.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah. Like stop. Ellie's so big. She's like a big kid. She rolls her eyes at me. I think like my personality is that like I always live in the future, which is maybe why I always saw snowboarding as like, this isn't it. Like I can't rely on this, to a fault. And likeAmi's great because he's like no future, all in the moment. And with the kids, like I think about with Ellie, how like she's gone when she's 18 and I'll do the math. I'm like, she's 4.5, like, a quarter of that time is gone already. And then she's gone, out of the house. So that's like how my brain works.
Again, that's why you don't bring up the future.
Yeah.
Fair bring that up.
Yeah.
I want to go back to something that Jill mentioned. Like, thank you for lobbying for, riders and things like that. I think it would be an interesting wormhole to talk about being behind the scenes at a brand, maybe just say Dakine, for example, or any brand you've worked at. But it seems to me like a lot of times the powers that be up, the higher ups are kind of like, you have to justify taking the money and spending it on the team, right? You have to make people that are in charge of the money at snowboard companies be like, yes, we're going to support this team. And they don't always like fall in line with our same ideals. Have you had to do that at any brands, or what does that look like being in that position?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think the biggest thing is just aligning yourself with brands and people who are like-minded. You see it from the outside. And I think things change like economically when there's pressure at different brands, especially the ones that are owned by private equity and bankers, like things can change. All of a sudden something could be working really well, but like the floor falls out because of money and whatever. Or just like trends change, or somebody somewhere decides that like what you're doing is not the right thing anymore. And yeah, I mean, it's hard. Like it's just a balancing act. And at the end of the day, like you're working for a company, it's not your company. Like there's a vision and a mission, and a lot of those are, I think, like not real. I think working for Patagonia now, that was like a huge motivating factor to me, that like there is a mission that we're working towards. And like we try to bring that into our work every day and show up in that way. And I think like, yeah, I mean, it's hard. Like you're kind of balancing like a healthy business and being responsible. You also kind of want to like do what Salomon was doing, which was just like burning money and doing the raddest, most community like oriented fun stuff. And so just figuring out like the pockets of like the right moment where you can do those things, and like planning for it and bringing the right people in to like understand it, feel like it's the right decision. Like I think the worst thing you could do is like go it alone, because there's just like, I don't like doing that because there's too much responsibility. If it doesn't work, it's on you. If it works, you're like celebrating alone, which also is not fun, So, yeah, it's hard. I mean, like, I think a lot of riders get it, like some more than others. And like the balancing act, I think that like people at brands need to maintain. And like a lot of that is responsibility. Like if the brand is not healthy, then like those paychecks they go away. They're like some of the first things that get cut at like most brands.
Amazing.
Do you now at Patagonia, obviously I know there's like a famous switch of like quote unquote ownership, but obviously it's Yvonne's baby and company, and still in some capacities, I know that Nature owns it or whatever now, but like do you see him around like this? He's like in the office.
Also explain that to the layman, also the host of the show that's not entirely sure on all of that.
Yeah, I mean, first question, because I don't want to forget about it, and I'll just answer it. Like, yes, I see him in the office all the time, and Claire's daughter's there like all the time and deeply involved. And John Stark, also like a filmer that I love and respect so much and have worked with, and really proud of like some of the projects we've done together. He texted me a photo of like people pay crazy money for like vintage Patagonia stuff. He texted me a photo of it, of a fleece that like at the shop here, and he was like, "Do you think this is real?" And like literally as I got the text, I was in the lunch line with Yvonne and nobody else was there. And I was like, the logo is really low and it looked kind of weird. And I was like, that's like a really weird place to put a logo, like down here. And so I just showed it to him. I was like, "Do you remember this?" And he was like, "Oh yeah, that's like, I think that was like really early days, first couple of years." And yeah, he's just there. But yeah, the business model. So yeah, there's a lot to unpack there, but like basically, I don't know what the intention was like for certain, but I think that the family wanted to ensure that like in the future, Patagonia doesn't end up like falling into the same situation that we've seen. Like a lot of the brands that we love and have like paid the paychecks of like people in the community and like the riders and like supported like fostering like what we've all benefited from fall into like the hands of like private equity and bankers and people who aren't gonna maintain the mission and the values. And so
yeah, continue.
Yeah, so basically, I mean, it was privately owned, so like it operated as such. I think there's like operating expenses and then like investment in the company, and then basically there's profits. And I think what's really cool about the Chenards is like money is one thing, and maybe love, that like people basically never are like, you know what, I have enough, I'm good. It's always like more, like how much money can you get? And we see like so much of that right now. I feel like as we've all become adults and like in the last 10 years, it's just like the wealth of like the richest people. It's just mind boggling and kind of sad, I think. And like, yeah, they were like in a very small minority of people that were like, you know what, like we have enough money, like we don't need profits from this company anymore. And we want to see like this company continue to do good and protect it in a way that it will be set up to do that. And so basically, yeah, after like operating expenses and investment in the company, which could be like hiring people, giving people raises, like taking care of the employees, like investing in new products or like ambassadors, then basically like the profits go into a fund where the money gets distributed to organizations that are value aligned. So this could be like environmental groups, like NGOs, things that are like groups that are helping to further Patagonia's mission of saving our home planet.
Yeah. That it's like been, I'm obviously like, I think because I also was a shop kid, so I love marketing. So
You're great at it.
Well, what we're you have this thing we love and you're trying to get other people to do it and inspire people or whatever. And I think Patagonia is like an amazing example of they have run like a very good business plan and marketing plan. And like when I saw that came out, I was like, genius. Like this dude's he's just smart. He's a punk. Like he's clearly punk.
Oh yeah, dirtbag. Like,
he's like dirtbag. He comes from the like climbing scene, but also is like gotta be one in a million of like who still owns a company that big, with no investor, and just still kills it.
Yeah.
And all the different little moments where you're like, holy shit, like, they have done it. I mean, I feel like I don't work for Patagonia. I'm just like, from an outsider, you're like, yeah, this dude seems like a good man, which is attractive from afar, and you just don't have that much in big companies anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like a super fan of the company. Like sometimes it doesn't feel real that I work there, and I still think sometimes from an outside perspective. And I mean, yeah, like I truly mean it. Like I can't say enough. Like what that they do, it's just the tip of the iceberg. And everybody who works there, I mean, like
it's people are so nice and interesting and really fun and like really smart and good at their jobs. And yeah, I had wanted to work for a B Corp or I think it started like, honestly, probably like when I was pregnant, which was like this crazy moment of like COVID, and like I had been at Dakine, I think for what I felt like was too long. I was kind of getting bored and like thinking about what I wanted to do next. And just like when I was pregnant with Ellie and then when she was born, like it just kind of changed my perspective of the world. And like I had mostly lived my life in like a pretty selfish way, like just having as much fun as possible, like spending as much time in the mountains and like in nature. And like it was all about me and my friends, you know? And I just started kind of like the reality of like someday we're going to be gone. And like, what are we leaving these kids with, you know, like our kids? And you spend like most of your time, like if you're working, like 40, 50 hours a week, like working. And I kind of started to get to this place where I was like, I want to spend those like 40 or 50 hours working for something that means something. Felt like I was kind of like a little bit in the spin cycle with like a lot of what like I was doing with snowboard stuff professionally. But it was really fun. So it was like super hard.
And Dakine had like gone through that moment too, where like bought, sold, turned into like a different version, and you were probably there in a moment where you're like.
Yeah, just like brands that like since I was a kid I loved and were a part of the culture. Just being, you know, bought and sold, just like a transaction, you know, is kind of something that like never really has sat right with me, and I have a hard time with it. Like I just could never go take a job anywhere for any company with any group of people. Like it has to be a company I believe in with the people who work there. Like I trust, I respect, and I also believe in. And so, yeah, I've been so lucky. I've been really lucky between Salomon, Dakine, and now Patagonia, like great people all around.
Yeah.
I want to just back it up for a second because you guys could probably provide better insight than anybody on this. As to kind of what's happening in the snowboard landscape with a lot of the outerwear companies. Like I know Volcom is going through it, Quicksilver, maybe Dakine, some brands like that. What exactly like happens with these companies that are formed by a founder, they create it and they sell it to private equity and then they license it out? Is there any way, could you guys kind of like lay that out in layman's terms for exactly what that looks like? So because it kind of makes the 686s and the snowboarder owned or rider owned or founder owned brands kind of like a deepened appreciation for them.
Yeah, we probably have like two very different like insights into this. Yeah, so Dakine went through this, and I can talk about like what that looked like. So yeah, Dakine was founded by Rob Kaplan, and then he sold it to Billabong. And so it was like just a brand founded by like a guy that was super into surfing and windsurfing, and then later on like skiing and snowboarding and mountain biking and so on. And Billabong, you know, like kind of the bigger brand portfolios, like it just doesn't seem like it works that well. Like eventually it kind of starts to die and they become like devalued. And Dakine was always like pretty solid, was sold to a private equity group. And then later while I was there, they were looking for a buyer, and they ended up selling the company into like a licensing model. And this is something that's become really popular in the last like 10 years in the outdoor industry and many industries. But like that model, you know, it's usually like private equity, usually like a 5 to 7 year strategy or something like that. And through licensing, you know, these people are people who are managing like investment funds on Wall Street. So like there's like a fund somewhere that is called X, Y, and Z that you can invest in. And inside that portfolio, deep down, there's Dakine, you know, and a bunch of other brands and like, you know, board riders and Quicksilver and all this. And and at the end of the day, like that just means that like money talks. Like it's all about the bottom line and delivering profits to your shareholders. And Patagonia is like basically on the furthest like other side of the spectrum of that, which is like so amazing, you know, and it's what enables like us to actually like, you know, work towards the mission like in our jobs there. But what happens in licensing is these bankers kind of figured out that like
where you lose all the money in a business is through operating costs. It's like building the product, quality control, bringing it overseas, like shipping, selling it to wholesale, having to take product back. All these things that are like kind of costs that can be hard to plan for if things don't work out exactly as you planned it. And that it's a more profitable model to like license, to like own the intellectual property, which is like, you know, the brand and the logo and like the product designs and things like that, and license it to companies who will like build the product, make it, get it places and sell it. And it's not your responsibility to worry about that. But like what that kind of does in a weird way is like, it kind of incentivizes like the group, the company, because there'll be like different companies involved now. They're like licensing. And think about like Martha Stewart or something. Like you'll see like Martha Stewart's name on like a blender and like a whatever, you know? And so it's that, but like in our world, it happens with snowboards and like bindings and outerwear and accessories. And so like you have a company that's like making the product, but they're running their own business. And their incentive is to build the product with the most margin. So they're building it kind of like in the cheapest way possible. So you kind of start to like see the product get worse. And then on the brand side, like who own the intellectual property and like usually like the private equity, they want the brand to be strong, but like it's really hard to do that without really strong product that's getting better. Usually the product's always getting worse in that model over the years. And then like because they get paid from like the licensing model, it's hard to invest in the brand when like the product starts slipping and like sales start slipping. So what they do is they open like more licensing. So you see it like all of a sudden it's like, oh, this company that made skis, now they're making snowboards and now they're making outerwear and goggles and helmets. And like, it's like a fool's errand. Like it's super short term. It's like, we're going to get sales this year to cover ourselves because we're like just hemorrhaging money over here on this thing. And like next year we'll open up like 3 more license agreements. So yeah.
And it also feels like it detaches like brand from product in a way that, you know, depending on the consumer can feel it, you know, like everything we talked about with Salomon in that moment was, I think it mattered to the industry because the people watching those videos are like seeing that stuff from that team came out were affected by it because it's legitimate and it's authentic and you feel like, oh, like maybe this is me and my friends, or like these are fun. These are fun people that are telling the truth. I think that's what it is. It's honestly like you're watching it and you're like, this brand is telling me the truth right now. Like I believe it and I'm gonna be fine to put myself behind it. And once this licensing starts happening and everything's like a little bit fractured, I think the consumer also can be like, what, what, you know, what's going on with that brand? Even if they have no clue there's a licensing model going on, it just starts to feel a little worse. I mean, I was riding for Dakine at that time too, and it would be wild where you'd have these like Zoom meetings with 3 different companies about like making a glove. And it would be 3 different companies who are like, well, we do brand, we do marketing, we're the glove, we do the backpack. And even in the Zoom, you're kind of like me being there being like, this seems hard enough in one office to like succeed. You know, like branding and marketing and product and all that stuff is such a big game that like once you cut those pieces up and put them in different rooms in different, maybe different states, different countries, you're like, I don't know how long this can continue before one thing fucks up and it's just like, boom, that thing's out the window and it's gone. And I mean, it's easy at that moment to be like, oh, they're fucked now. But realistically, at some point, that owner did sell it. Like whoever started Dakine, whoever started Quicksilver, whoever started Volcom, whoever started these big brands, like they made that decision. It did get run into the ground or whatever, but it's hard not to be like, well, maybe if that person stayed at the helm like Yvonne has, like Volcom still would be youth against establishment. Like if I don't know. I don't want to put my perspective on Wooly or anything, but you know, you're like, that's when Volcom probably started to die.
Yeah. I mean, I think as long as like you have people there who still care, like I always feel tremendous responsibility like at these brands, like at Dakine, I felt it, you know, like to continue
to make it better than I found it, I think. And like continue to pay people more and give people raises, not you, of course. And
she did give me raises every year.
And yeah, just like take care of the people. And as long as you have people there who like still want, to leave it better than they found it. And I feel like we were doing that at Dakine. Don't get me wrong. Like, I feel like actually we started to like have more energy than we had. Like we were doing some projects like, and the team felt motivated, and there were still pieces that were like in the works that were happening. And I think that was, because, you know, we had a boss there at the time who was like, you know, able to like fight for the money for us to just like make these small things happen. And I cared like very deeply and still care about Dakine. And, but when those people leave, it gets harder. Yeah. And randomly my boss, Pam, and I left like within 2 or 3 weeks of each other by a total freak coincidence.
Yeah, you're right. That, I mean, because I was with Quicksilver through like a couple different sales, and I guess you're really right. There would be like a moment where like a certain group of humans who would be working there, and you'd be like, whoa, crazy momentum push, and like, you know, whatever that, you know, it's probably the timing of the investment group who, if you say it's like a 5-year turnaround or something, like maybe that investment group goes and it's like, all right, these dudes have 3 years, like turn it around. And if those are the right people, it can feel like great. But yeah, I mean, it's a weird time for the industry. I mean, you must feel like really solid to be working at a place that at least seems like just like, oh, this is what it's going to be forever.
Yeah. I mean, I think that like, you know, Patagonia is not immune. Like we have a lot of work to do, you know, ahead of us. And we know that, you know, to make sure that the company and the business continues to thrive. Yeah. They just turned 50 a couple of years ago. And so like, yeah, kind of what the next 50 looks like. There's, a lot of work to do and nothing's a given. So yeah, I think that's like a motivator for myself in like a huge way, but all the people there who care, you know, to care about the communities and the sports, like continue to make sure it works. Sometimes things are just out of your hands, you know, you do what you can, but I don't know if we're drinking our own Kool-Aid here, but I feel like what you were saying, when somebody in the community like gets a job somewhere and they're running something, you're like, oh my God, this is like, they're going to be on the up and this is going to be awesome. And that's just like kind of what I mean. I think like, maybe that's just, again, drinking the Kool-Aid, like that only matters to us and we're too core, you know? But I do think like it's so important just have people who care, you know?
What are the bullet points of a brand that are, you know, in your experience, doing things right?
That's a really hard-hitting question. That's hard. I think I'm just going to go back to Patagonia for a second. Like I'm really inspired by the work that Patagonia has done to like reduce their environmental impact and the way they build product and the way that they run their business, that has shown like other brands that it's possible, you know, to have a profitable business and be responsible. And it's been really cool, like just broadly speaking, I think like in snowboarding and like action sports and outdoor, become a lot more conscious of like the way that the businesses are being run and incorporated. And we see a lot of it in the marketing and things like that. And I think that applies to like many, many brands. Right now, I don't know. What do you guys think? Like what brands are you excited about?
I think it's simply put, I would say just put people over profits. I think that's like the simple thing why when brands do really well is like the people that work there are, you know, are cared more than the profits, where I think when you see these venture capital groups or these licensed deals come in, it's about the bottom line and it's about what are the numbers say? How do we get this thing profitable? Okay, let's drop some of the team. Let's make this in-house as small as possible. So we got 3 people that was once doing 10 people's jobs. And let's just keep the numbers really tight, and you know, let's make sure that the bottom line. I don't really give a shit who's working there, as long as the bottom line comes in right. I think that's the demise on a zoomed out level.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with both of you. I think it's difficult. It's also really difficult because it's weird to think like, well, who would you be as the Avon or something, or like how would you? I think about that. Like I went and stayed with Tommy, who owns Nitro, for a long time last winter, and I was like, damn, I wonder if like my personality would, all the things I love about him and how he's run this company and how he's kept this company a certain way, like would I be able to keep things, that kind of solid without having that big kind of just like, oh shit, that's a big order, that's a big paycheck, or oh shit, somebody offered me this much cash, like, like that's where I look at someone. I really don't want to pump this dude up too much. I don't know him at all, and I don't work for Patagonia, but like where you're like, damn, that takes a lot to just not chill and be done with, just be like, oh, I won life. That's the thing when you look at these companies and they sell, they're just like, I could sell tomorrow and not have any of this stress of production. And, some of what these companies are doing, when you say put people before profits, that is gnarly, because putting just managing that many humans is a wild undertaking. You're like, oh shit, I have all of these people and their families' livelihood on my conscious day in, day out. Every time I wake up, I'm thinking like, some big company has like 5,000-10,000 people who are like kind of gonna live based off your decisions. That's heavy. It's like heavy for somebody to bear that. So I don't know. Yeah, I think hiring good people is in the end like just always gonna win in life and in business.
Yeah, but then to your point, like there might come a time that's like out of your control and the business is not doing well, and you've hired a lot of really good people that you love, and you have to fire them. And like they have families and kids, and like, like at Patagonia, like, for us, like the daycare is at work. And so like, your lives are so intertwined with your work that, I don't know that I would ever really like want to run my own business and have that kind of responsibility. Feels really heavy. It'd be super hard, I think. I think an example, thought of one. I think what Preston and Dawn are doing, like, I'm like, they're just like, just like running a business at the size that they feel is healthy and appropriate for how much work they want to do and like what they want to do, and doing it, for themselves, keeping it like small, and seems great.
Nailing it.
It's straight.
Nailing it. Going surfing every day.
Yeah. Crab grab.
Yep.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. I got a question for you kind of in relation to that. What, like, if you look at I know you're a very sharp woman, so you've probably already looked at all of these things as far as growth. Like what's Colleen Quigley Voutilainen's like end of like, wow, that would be like the most amazing job, or like to get to where he's like, that's my North Star in this world?
I'm just like not a planner in that way. I don't like, never in my life have I ever been like, this is my goal. I want to be like head of marketing at a company this size. I just don't think like that. And in fact, I feel like I was telling my my boss just recently, because my role changed at Patagonia, where I was marketer for snow and mountain bike, and just a couple months ago, I'm now leading the marketing team for product and sport community marketing. So it's like 6 people, and it's like snow and mountain bike and surf and kids and fly fish and all these things. And I have a lot of blind spots. But like when he was telling me, I was like, snow, like I love snow. Can I continue my toxic trait? I'm like, I don't want to put it down, And I think people who are more just like goal oriented and like have a vision for like where they want to end up, and move up, they're just like, whatever it takes to get there, they're in. And for me, it's just not like that. Like, again, like I just like have to be doing the thing that I love with the people that I respect and care about, and for the community too,
All right, folks, quick science lesson. Mammoth Mountain is made up of 25 small volcanoes that erupted between 50 and 100,000 years ago. These massive lumps and bumps have created the perfect environment for snowboarding. Cliffs, wind lips, chutes, gullies, steeps, cruisers, and just about any type of terrain can be found within 350,000 shreddable acres on Mammoth. But what the Unbound Terrain Park crew brings to the equation with their park creations is truly another level of fun. Let's dive in. We're talking 10 parks, 100 plus pieces of steel, and 40 plus jumps at any given time. New to terrain park riding? Try Wonderland, a beginner rider's best friend with small jumps, ride-on boxes, and creative snow features built on a smaller scale. Are you an intermediate ripper looking to dial in threes and progress a bit more on the metal? Forest Trail is the perfect park for you. Keep an eye out for Todd Richards, big fan of the jump line. I'm also a fan too. Love that jump line. Now, South Park is the spot you'll find advanced features, a long park with incredible flow. There's the Transition Park for those looking to lay it on edge, the Snake Run, playgrounds, hemlocks, and of course, the Big Boss Park main park. We're talking video part-worthy features, progressive jump lines, tech steel, and a slew of snow features that meet the gold standard. Finally, Mammoth has an 11-foot and a 22-foot pipe. Simply put, Mammoth is really, really fun. All right, folks, if you love coffee, listen up. I love chugging coffee, specifically on a cold winter day. I don't know if there's anything better. So we got the Yeti 34-ounce French press in front of me here, and it is a weapon. Picture this. You're up at the mountain. It's a cold day. It's snowing. Actually, it's not snowing. It's bluebird, but it's frigid. You know, you're in Saskatoon or you're in Winnipeg. It's absolutely blistering cold. What's better than a hot cup of coffee? You can get yourself this French press, and it seals in heat like nothing I've ever seen before. You guys know Yeti products. You make a hot cup of coffee in one of their mugs, it's going to stay hot for a long time. Same goes for this Yeti French press. It's got this plunger technology. I don't know how it works, but it seals in the heat really well. You know, you want to be a hit at the tailgate when you're at the resort, pick up the Yeti 34-ounce French press, and you'll be the belle of the ball. All right, we got Nick Russell in studio.
Yeah.
What's happening?
Dude, checking out the new spot. It looks awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Congrats.
You go snowboard today?
I did, yeah. I just got off the mountain.
How was it?
It's good. It's really good. South facing was blower, duff. But, man, you guys are kind of screwed for quite a while.
Yeah.
Overall in the backcountry, anything northerly, this is just awful.
Down.
Yeah, very dangerous right now.
We talking chairlift or we go leg powered?
Today?
Yeah.
We were split boarding.
Yeah.
I was with Neil, Bjorn, and Double A, Alpine Andrews.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you guys do like 40 miles? You guys go to like...
we went to Park City for breakfast, came back, and now we're here, yeah.
Nice. We were just talking about Patagonia, and I know we talked on the phone last night. You said you might have some good questions for Colleen in regards to that.
I do. I was wondering, Colleen, since you've made the switch there, how is working for Patagonia a little bit different in terms of their brand ethos and how that trickles through like the projects that you work on and the riders that you work with? Like, how is that different than the traditional snowboard company?
Oh, I mean, it's so different. I feel like when I first went there, I had to really rewire my brain as a marketer because at basically any brand, I can't think of another brand that is like Patagonia. At any brand, I think of it like half your brain is focused on trying to do demand creation, like make cool things happen with cool people and bring energy in the market to the brand and try to bring people in and engage with like community and then the other half of your brain has like this responsibility to build a marketing plan that supports the business commercially. And you work with, like your sales partners on building that plan. And, that's not the most exciting stuff to work on, but very important to the health of the business. And that's how most companies operate. And when I first went to Patagonia, it was kind of a moment where I needed to step back, and like the marketer role there really wasn't to be commercial and think of supporting the business in that way. It was really and is really
about how we're, again, like driving the mission and our values, and inspiring people to care more about the impact they have and connect with nature. And it's a lot less like short-term shiny object that just like washes over you and like it's on to the next. It's just feels like a more of a long game, I think. And,
more action.
Yeah.
Than talking about it, it seems like.
Yeah, definitely. Like do it. Like take action. Like what are we doing?
Who's on the Patagonia snowboard team?
Nick.
Who else? Dirksen?
I was like, do you want to do it?
Yeah, Dirksen, Forrest,
Marie,
Taro Tamai,
Ryland,
and Ryland Bell.
Not hearing a lot of handrail guys in there.
Alex Yoder.
Oh, Yoder.
And Dr. Alex Yoder. I'm
Pep
spacing right
has
now.
been
I'm
known
like,
to snowboard sometimes.
I'm powder brained out right now. Sorry.
Yeah, all good.
Yeah,
pretty stacked. But yeah, it seems like the roles, like it's not like a traditional just like you're on the team, go film video part.
Yeah, no, definitely not. I think it's really like I mean, first of all, the positioning for Patagonia, which I think some people still don't understand, is human powered snowboarding. And the reason being, I mean, it's just like, you know, anti-extractive capitalism and using like,
say that again.
Yeah, just like things that you're taking out of the earth that you can't put back, like oil and this idea of like romping around on sleds and you're just like burning gas. I'm sorry, Chris.
It's okay. No offense.
It can be like really fun, but is like
it.
also, you know, bad for the environment. I think with that comes, you know, a very like open and honest realization that we like fly on planes and there are some areas where you have to use sled access, but like kind of the egregious, like in the helicopter, just bagging lines. And you're not really, I think it's just a different experience when you earn your turns, like the connection that you make, like with the mountains and the mountain knowledge and craft you have to approach the mountains in that way is a very different thing than just getting in a helicopter with a guide.
I'm just going to go ahead. I agree with everything you're saying. That's great. I think you could make an argument that handrail snowboards are human powered. You hike
you
up.
fully are.
You know,
Yeah,
you've hit rails.
Yeah.
You know, look at Sexton. I mean, he probably gets as much vert as Nick does when he hits those bounce. Like you ever seen? He hits the rail 500 times.
Those long rails too, like 100 stairs.
I'm thinking Sexton could be potentially. You know, you could do some. You could do some marketing positioning with
The most vert.
The most
human
vert
powered handrail battles.
And in his like illustrious long career, he's also probably worn the least amount of plastic outerwear. Right?
A lot of thrift store, a lot of
Thrift store
recycle.
wool.
Yeah, so-
I mean, I'm just, you know,
Pure
I'm not in a
cotton.
marketing meeting right now, but I'll do some consulting. if
Yeah,
you
I
need.
mean, well, and I mean like inclusion and like community are huge pieces of it also. And
Why aren't there more
way
women on the team?
less focused on video parts. I don't know. The current makeup of the team has predated me. I think that, like I'm just gonna say it. Like it's like Patagonia, you know, isn't like has kind of engaged in that way currently with the snow team that we were talking about earlier, where like it's not balanced in my opinion at all. And so like it's definitely something that's on my radar. You know, we've got Marie, and like that's on the official program and as an ambassador, and like I think that's not enough.
But you guys are working on it, yeah?
We're working on it, yeah.
Yeah, so like it's in motion, and I think what's different is like it really has to be a perfect fit to enter that space there across the board in all disciplines, like all the sports, you know?
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. And
yeah, Patagonia is definitely also not the brand that like you're gonna get on for a brief amount of time and then you're off. I think that in a lot of ways is really like pains them. Like that has happened and it feels, I think, icky for lack of better words, you know, like where there is a lot of diligence with like a lot of people to make sure, like Nick said, that it's the right fit. And part of that is your approach to the mountains. But like if you look at the team for snowboard, like some of those people, like, I mean, look at Marie, she was like Rome rail goddess, you know? So like, but I think it's about kind of the path, the approach, and then community. And also the huge piece of it is kind of their path to activism is really important. And that can be kind of a daunting piece, I think, for a lot of riders, and especially like the riders that are really focused on like wanting to just be the best at snowboarding. And they're young and they want to get the achievements and the goals that they have under their belt. And but like I think it's important to not forget that like repairing your gear is activism. Like wearing your jacket that's like 5 years old but still Gore-Tex and working great, and washing it and drying it and like continuing to use it, and like those are all forms of activism, even if you're not out there like protesting or there's a lot of different forms. So I think it's not like as daunting as a lot of people think.
Yeah, you want to fuck the system, fix stuff on your own, straight up. Like
worn wear.
Yeah,
what's so cool is like as a rider for Patagonia, I'm encouraged to use my older gear. There's never any like, oh, we got to shoot the new colorway type scenario. It's like, yeah, we'd prefer if you're in your worn-in gear that is tried and true, and use that year after year. Because, man, you buy a jacket, quality jacket, it's going to last you 10 years if you take care of it, if you wash it and whatnot, which is really awesome about how they can sell a product by telling the consumer not to buy it, more or less.
Yeah, and the products are, like, they're very minimalist in design. Like the outerwear, it's built to be repaired. That's why you don't see like a million pockets, and the colors don't change a lot, because like, just the subtlety of the color changing kind of cues this thing, like in our brains, the way we've been trained to like want the new shiny thing. It's a new season, new color. I want that. And yeah, just trying to not engage in that. But Bryan, I feel like in working together over a lot of years with gloves, you were like, I've got these gloves that are like 12 years old and they're great. We should show them and I want to wear them. I'm like, great. But so many brands are like, oh yeah, new samples are here. Open the box. We got to shoot it.
We can't see you in last year's. You got to get in the new stuff ASAP.
Yeah, I used to always kind of push for that in marketing meetings and have these things where I have this thing, and you could basically talk about how I've fixed it so many times, and they're like, it's not really something we want to tell the customer. We like the idea that they might, but that's not really going to be our marketing. And I remember, I think I was already friends with Brandon Richards when they started Warnwear, and they started driving around that like cool, like really
Uncle Dave.
Yeah, like really cool made truck, and they're fixing anybody's shit. And same deal. Like you just look at it and you're like, end goal, I know that they are doing this as a business. It is a business to sell goods. Like they do want to sell things to people. That's how he's a billionaire, is because they've sold things to people well. But if the marketing is good, you're like, it's a fucking win-win, because like a lot of people do buy outerwear. Like it's not like all marketing has to be devilish or something. You're just like, that's good fucking marketing. Like,
yep,
hats off.
Yeah, I think. Oh, go ahead, Nick.
I was just saying, I saw this speaker not too long ago. Basically, the gist was like, you can do good shit for the planet and still make money, which is pretty clear.
Yeah. And I think before they changed the business model, that was always kind of like the thorn in the side. Like, oh, it's a responsible business, but you're producing so many nano puffs in a year. And how do you reconcile that? And I think that the new business model and what they've done, actually, like, we're kind of charged, like, as long as it's responsible and we're building quality products that last and aren't going to end up on a landfill, that it is the better option than, another jacket, because those profits are going back to like preserve the places that we all enjoy and play and want our children to experience. And
I think it's fascinating, the marketing, if you really kind of boil it down, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we're so raised on, here's the new thing. This is the new shiny thing. Go get the new thing. It's got the new technology, your colors or whatever it is. And then Patagonia is like, this is what we're about. If you're kind of rocking with us, you can buy one of our jackets, right? Is that like, if you were to boil it down, it's more about the ethos of the brand than the like, hammering to, Nick doesn't have to go. Like you said, he can wear the old outerwear. I like that. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was definitely the first time in my career where, the ambassadors pick the products that they want. Like there's new samples coming. Like, what do you need? And Dirksen was like, I'm good. And I was like, what do you mean you're good? And he was like, I'm good.
I think I'm good. I might be a medium now, actually. Like I might need like a insulation piece, but otherwise I'm good. And I was like, okay, great. Just usually it's like, oh, can I get this? Can I get that? And then you see those things like showing up, for sale and whatever.
I mean, you guys could update the fits a little.
So a little
Eric
baggier, deep dish.
Just a little, just a little baggier. Just a little bit.
Yeah. But, it's all like functionally made, so you can always size up if something's a little too tight for you.
I just don't want this to feel too much like a Patagonia ad,
That's a good point.
I look a little too good right now.
I don't know. Nick's looking kind of G over there.
I'm hoping to catch a quick hot tub and nap. We got a premiere tonight.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. This will be in the past, but can I plug the movie?
Yeah, plug
it.
Right
we
now.
already plugged it.
It'll be out by the time this episode's out.
I'm curious myself about the video, so let's hear about it.
End of January, it's called Papsura, Peak of Evil. Colleen was one of the producers that worked with me on it. And film about expedition to India this past year with Jerry Mark, a close friend, and cameraman Blake Gordon, and Morgan Shields, who directed, edited, and thanks to Colleen and the crew over there, they supported the project, and we got a kind of a full-length film coming out end of the month.
Cool.
Where in India is this peak?
It's in kind of like northwest India, this state called Himachal Pradesh, just kind of over from Kashmir a bit to the west. But
bordering Pakistan?
I mean, as the crow flies, but not bordering.
Okay.
It was a great zone because it wasn't militarized at all. Like in Gulmarg, when I saw you a couple of years ago, like heavy military presence there, right?
Wild, yeah.
Dudes with machine guns
yeah.
everywhere, and it's like not a pleasant place to travel, to be honest. It's just like stressful. And this area that we went was the opposite of that. It was this valley, the Tosh Valley. It's called the weed capital of India. So the hillsides are just covered in hash and weed, like growing naturally, and these farms, but leads up to a beautiful mountain called Papsura. And this story is kind of just about the journey and the process getting there, sort of the inspiration behind the expedition itself, which was a kind of tribute to our friend Hillary Nelson that made the first descent of the peak along with Jim Morrison and Chris Figgenshaw in 2017. And we wanted to kind of pay tribute to that and have our own adventure. And I got to say thanks to Colleen, because this is her show right now, because at the powers that be that help these things come to life and allow us to tell stories that go a little bit deeper than snowboarding, that bring the right people along. So,
yeah, I mean, I just want to, full disclosure, I feel like I had very little to do with this project. I was on maternity leave and I came back and like, I'm like, great, you guys made a film.
You signed off and
gave you the money, go for it.
No, I came back from maternity leave and like, this is the best case scenario for a project. Like, it's awful as a marketer when you have to like come up with the idea. And then like, I am not that person. The projects that I am the most proud of are the ones where like, it was someone else's idea and like I added some like sparkle on top of it, or it was my idea and people were like, listen, Colleen, sit down. This is not a great idea. But like, if we change it like this, it would be cool. And I came back from mat leave and Nick had this vision for this trip and he wanted to do it. And my boss, Christo, was like, had already been like, yeah, go do it. And Nick being really modest and super easy to work with, like the budget was very mellow and it was easy to say yes. And this type of snowboarding, it's like very risky. You could just spend 3 weeks in a tent and we had no film. But yeah, right after I was back, you guys did it. You were leaving, I think, right when I got back to work, and it worked, and it was like best case scenario. And then I got to work on like the fun part, which was like watching the film come together with the film team at Patagonia and just like giving comments, which is like the most ridiculous job. You're like, you have these amazing filmmaker and these people who made this film, and you're just at your desk like, yeah, I think you should like fade out faster with this shot. Like you feel like such a like a-hole. And
but that stuff is necessary, and it like is a team effort when it comes to post-production, because it's so easy to get stuck in your tunnel vision, once you've been staring at this thing for a while and like you're really connected connected to it. So it's nice to have some people that are detached to it and can be like the voice of reason.
It's like a real collaboration.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like in that moment where you're like, I do need you. I'm pretty lost. I've looked at this footage fucking.
I mean, this was my first time doing a film with Patagonia, and the whole film team, production house behind it. It was really cool to have resources to be able to do things and deal with things that would just fluster me and Morgan otherwise. So like, yeah, thank you.
I mean, thank you guys. You guys did an amazing feat, and then Morgan is really talented. The film is great, and we do so much collaboration at Patagonia. There's so many people involved in so many things. I mean, there's like a whole film team. There's like a team that has worked on events and like community experiences, and they help plan this global premiere tour that we've been doing. And Nick's heading off to Europe after Jackson in a couple days, and then Japan's going to do some stops, and South America next summer.
Damn.
Prestige worldwide.
Yeah.
I have a question. Did you guys hit it good?
We did. Yeah. I mean, it was a big mountain, 21,000 foot plus mountain. So the snow is going to, like, good is maybe my good is different than Bryan's good.
Rideable.
It's rideable.
No, Bryan's like, I'm nipple deep, Japan duff only, otherwise this sucks.
Nick's good is like he was not roping down. He rode his snowboard
Good's
down.
like, I only had one like ice axe in my hand. It was fucking chill.
No, it for dudes. I did have 2 ice axes.
There's one fucking rule in snowboarding: don't follow Nick Russell.
No. We use sharp things to find soft snow. Right?
Scary.
But the conditions for the peak were as good as you could ask for on like a 6,000 meter peak. Stable, soft snow. You can make controlled turns the whole way down. No side slipping or like riding the axe or anything like that. Like.
That's a new term, riding the axe. I haven't heard that before.
I got that from Jones. Did you have to ride the axe?
He's riding the axe, dude. He's riding the axe.
This is what I'm saying.
You don't get that in Minneapolis when they're on the steel.
What do you do for that big of a project as far as like snow safety? Like, how do you mitigate risk on that big of a slope? You probably aren't riding 21,000 feet, obviously. So how much of that are you like, we are hiking, we are camping, we are hiking, we are camping?
What month did you go there too is another question, part 2.
Backtracking. We went out there end of April through May for a month. Yeah. And the line itself is like 3,500 feet. Mm-hmm. And really it takes a month to do that one line. So you're really just moving further and further up the mountain incrementally, acclimatizing along the way and shuffling gear up to like get to a high camp where you can try the line. And this thing was pretty hidden. It's super mystical. And you can't see it until you're well into your trip. Like 10 days in from base camp, 10 days in from starting until even seeing the line. So you really don't know. And then as soon as you can see it, you're just watching it. And we were super blessed with perfect weather and had maybe 2 systems that came through that lasted like a day. And when it snows out there in the big mountains, you're just watching them. You're going to see some avalanches, some big avalanches all over the place. And so you're just kind of making sure like, okay, let's not walk over there after it snows. And so you're watching it and we're seeing if there's slough coming down the face, which there wasn't. And it was just like miraculously splattered onto this thing. And when you're climbing it, you're assessing the snow, but really it has to be like full green light, all systems go to climb up something like that, because like you get to a certain point, like you're not, there's so many other things that you're dealing with that avalanche hazard like cannot be one of them. No. Like it's just too serious of a place. So
heavy.
You get a good feeling for it after weeks of being out there.
Do you maybe this is a weird question, but on the other side of that, especially when you know what he's going to do, on the approval side of giving money to a project like that, do you have some, like, in a marketing meeting, do you ever talk, we're like funding something that's quite dangerous?
Not with this project, and it hasn't come up really since I've been there, but I am aware of
some stuff that's happened in the past. And I think there was like a grants program or like different grants programs that Patagonia participated in where it was their money or, you know, where there were some questions like and some accidents that happened and then some questions that were like, are we encouraging this by like kind of dangling this money for these like bigger, crazier, more epic, never been done, super dangerous things? And they stopped doing it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it is a conversation in those meetings of just like, fuck.
Yeah, and I wasn't there, and I don't know if there are other grants that exist. It's like a huge company, and you know, yeah, potentially, but like, kind of from what I've been told, like, yeah, there was kind of a moment of reckoning where it was like, we're not going to do this anymore. Yeah. But through films and things, I mean, like the way that the content works there, it's pretty unique. Their approach is just like journalistic, and they don't participate in like the traditional model of like sponsoring video parts and films, which is hard. Like it's hard to wrap your brain around it, and especially when like our industry and community is like so focused on that as like the benchmark for achievement and things like that. And so we asked the ambassadors and friends of the brand and other contributors to like pitch ideas and stories, and they'll pick them up from anywhere. And like with Pops Through It was Nick, but it might be like somebody else that isn't an ambassador or like is not sponsored, or a photographer that has an idea or a filmer or something. And yeah.
That's awesome as like a testament to storytelling as a brand, you know. Like the projects that come out are these cool films that aren't this super extreme scenario, you know. There's more depth to it, I think.
Yeah, they're totally different things, like totally different things that serve different purposes, like in my mind. I mean, sometimes it's like fun to just like check out and like watch the insane video and like the video parts and just get really stoked and excited and like have your mind kind of blown. And then there's like, you know, especially for me as I've gotten older, like sit down and watch like a film that has a story and is like, has kind of a message, and you're like connecting maybe more with the people in it on like a personal level, and walking away with like a takeaway or something aside from just like, fuck yeah, you know, like.
Mm-hmm. What do you think as a like consumer of snowboarding right now? Like, who do you think is doing a good job as a professional? Like, what, you know, obviously you are a person who like hires people and gets some money, but like you look at the industry and you go like, what's a good professional right now?
Good professional. I mean, like, I think broadly speaking, not any names, and we can try and dig up some names, but like, I mean, I think it's people who are doing their own thing. I think most brands, like Salomon was unique in that like Salomon was able to create like a lot of the energy like with the riders, but most brands are like not in the position to do that, especially right now. And Patagonia is kind of like that, where you want like snowboarders who can go out and do their own projects. And if you're out of the picture, in the picture, they're going to be doing it anyway. Like they're so driven, they're going to find a way to do the thing that they're trying to do. And what they're doing is connecting with like other snowboarders and the snow community and like bringing excitement and relevance, I think. And then, you know, also people who can, like engage with like product and communication and things like that. And I don't know, I mean, I think like Nick has been great to work with. Like Marie is like all time, like one of my favorite humans, and she's so great. And like I've worked with Josh over the years, you know, which is like been really fun, and he's great.
Couple of treasures.
Yeah, bunch of treasures. I mean, Lewif is like such a professional. Like, yeah, he's like opening doors for people. He's like planning the trip. I remember I went to Japan with him and Harrison and Nils, and it was again just like kind of like a fun thing, you know, that I got to go. But like, I was like, I'm just gonna drive and pay for everything and make dinner reservations and make it as easy as possible for everybody. And we like arrive, and Lewif literally like takes the keys from the rental car guy and he drives. And I'm like walking in, and he's like opening the door, you know, and like it's just yeah, he's like a professional. You are very professional also.
That's debatable.
Very professional.
That's debatable. Okay, cool. I got another total. I'm going to derail this entire conversation. Talking to Ami, he mentioned that we were on the show, a group chat that will have been a while ago, but you were on. We were talking about ski resorts and what they could do differently and how they're really crowded and things of that nature. And I didn't know that you were on the board for Ski Oregon, which I don't exactly know what you do over there, working behind the scenes with resort. What did you do at Ski Oregon, and what insights do you have to that world?
Yeah, I haven't listened to that group chat yet, but Ami and I did talk about it. He was saying that, Bryan, you had some really like interesting insights, and there's so many problems right now at like if you want to go to ski resorts and like you have small children like we do. And yeah, there is this nonprofit called Ski Oregon that, and I'm not even sure if they're still operating, but it's basically like an arm of Travel Oregon. It's like a winter piece of Travel Oregon, which is a pretty well-funded taxpayer like tourism thing in Oregon. That's actually does really cool stuff. They work with Wyden and Kennedy, or used to, for a lot of their creative and things like that. And I was at Dakine at the time, and they just asked me to join, and it was a lot of ski area GMs, and a few people from brands. Kevin English was on it from camp, just kind of talking about like the issues that kind of the ski and snowboard scene in Oregon were like facing, and like opportunities that we could potentially work together. But in the end, like what's kind of trippy, and I had a hard time wrapping my head around for like what I would bring to the conversation and ultimately do, is that demand is through the roof. So like they're really, you know, and we all see this, like there wasn't necessarily a problem to solve in the sense that like almost every ski resort was at like maximum capacity. They were having to turn people away, or like didn't have enough parking. You see it with like resorts now doing like demand pricing, where like if it's a powder day and a lot of people are trying to go, like prices go up, which is insane. And so like they're kind of turning people away and just like raising prices. Like where is the ceiling for lift tickets? I don't know, but it's like so unaffordable. And they're trying to figure out like how can they make more money in other areas like food and beverage, and like things that happen like off the slope, like entertainment and things like that. And
yeah, we talked about it on that group chat, but it is a really strange, I guess it's not really a problem. It is just a conversation about, it's just becoming extremely classist, which like, it's just only rich people can go to ski resorts, basically. Or it feels that way, where you're like, well, I don't know at what point like anyone with like a standard job can go to Park City maybe ever again.
Yeah.
If the day ticket's like $300
with your whole family at $300 a head or whatever it is, that's crazy.
Do you guys hear a lot about the strike here?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I met a patroller on the mountain today from Park City that was on strike.
Yeah.
And
they were saying they were having some meetings next week, but
they're still on strike currently?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's amazing. Yeah. I saw a thing on the news about basically how a broadcaster. Did you see this?
I saw that.
Yeah.
The financial guy?
Yeah, the financial guy. That was great.
He basically was like, he was on some, I don't even know, I shot it on Instagram, so it was like very out of context and complete, but like he was, you know, like on one of those financial entertainment shows. And he was like, I never weigh in on the companies we talk about on this show, but I got to say, Vail is like the worst company. I totally understand why their stock has been tanking the last like number of years, because I went to Park City over the break with my family, and there's this strike going on, and he like kind of went off about it.
He mentioned none of the, like there was all the terrain that would be opened by the patrollers wasn't opened, so the resort was completely overcrowded because there's 1 million people on a few runs, and that they didn't offer the advertised experience, which is...
Well, and the most fucked thing of that whole deal is they were flying in patrollers like scabs, you know, when people break the picket line, flying patrollers from the East Coast in, paying them that have no experience on that mountain or dealing with avalanche terrain. And yeah, seriously, that's what's happening right now.
Groomers.
That have no idea how to mitigate these mountains compared to these career patrollers, like legacy patrollers that have been there for 20, 30 years, right? And they're just trying to get a $2 raise. I'm pretty sure it's like $21 to $23 is all they're fighting for. And Vail's saying no. So these guys are on strike and they're flying in these patrollers. And from what I read on this story, they're paying them $600 a day and putting them up in a hotel.
Crazy.
Damn.
I think, I mean, like the whole model of Vail and Altera, you know, like the Icon and Epic Pass, like everybody needs this. I don't have one, so I shouldn't say we, but like everybody should stop maybe buying those because like that's maybe what's feeding it.
Yeah.
Because like you think on paper, you're like, oh, I get this pass and I have access to like all these big resorts, and they're like the kitchen table resorts like Park City that people recognize the names. It's all like the big ones. But like when I go to those resorts now, I'm like, I hate this. It's like I got to walk through a huge village. I got to pay to park. It's crazy expensive. My kid's not having fun. Like, but in the end, like we're enabling it. Like the snow community is like buying the tickets and buying the passes. And
what are you supposed to do financially? Because it's cheaper.
I mean, it's like Amazon, right? Like
it's
we all hate Amazon,
Yeah.
but still sometimes, you know, you're going to get something that's going to show up in a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Out of convenience.
But I mean, yeah, you would need to go pay. I mean, I don't have any of those passes either. But the thing, you can't blame some. But it's hard to justify because it's way cheaper for the consumer.
Yeah.
Which is another. So
it opens doors
a complex,
in that sense.
It's a complex.
You buy one of those
sword, right? Like
you buy one of those passes, you know, the spring before, it's super affordable to get a season's pass. And I think, you know, what those mountains do encourage is buying a season's pass, so you're not paying a $300 day ticket, which, you know, if you went 3 times, 4 times, that would pay for your pass.
yeah, it's and like they are catering to families. I think like people on vacation, like that guy on that TV show.
Yeah, I mean like I mean we've said it so many times. It's such like it's just like a difficult problem because also if you're saying you don't want to walk through that village, you don't want to feel that vibe, you don't want it to be ritzy. I think the problem is that it works really well because the majority of who they want to come spend all of that money, they probably walk through that village and all of those things feel good. That's like part of the, like, this feels like a mall. This feels comfortable to me. This feel, you know, and no shade on those people. It's just like, they're just doing business of like, oh, this is a customer want. This is the experience we're going to build for them. And it just doesn't really suit us or something where you're like, fuck, Whistler's weird now.
Yeah, it's such a double-edged sword, right? Because like whatever mountain that you live at, if that's now part of whichever Icon or Altera, like there's not a single person that's psyched on that. You know, if you're a local ripper that stays at the same mountain all year, you're like, dude, hundreds and thousands of people here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does it feel like living at the beach now? You miss it?
Yeah, the beach is really easy with the kids, but this is my winter to like get into snow because basically when we moved there, it's coming up on 2 years this February. But then, yeah, like last winter I was on maternity leave, awful winter, obviously, but like I couldn't really leave. You can't be away from the baby for more than like 2 hours. And then we tried to go to Mammoth and like you can't put a baby in a car for that long. And so I didn't really snowboard for 2 years, which is the most in my life since I was 9 years old, you know, like that basically hasn't happened. It's been like 2 years. So for me, like I love the beach. Surfing is really fun. It's easy. Like so many friends have moved there, which is like a trip. There's all of a sudden like tons of snowboarders living in Ventura. It feels like Portland like 20 years ago, you know? And, but like this winter, I'm like, I got to get into snow for my sanity.
Did you surf while you were pregnant?
I did. Yeah. Yeah. The last time I surfed, I was like 30 weeks. And I was huge. I was huge the second pregnancy.
In a wetsuit? For the record, my baby came out at 35 weeks.
Yeah.
Just so you guys know.
I gained 40 pounds second pregnancy.
Dude,
sorry. There's a lot of like masculine energy in this room.
No, I'm genuinely curious. It seems like that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of our friends tread while they're pregnant, throughout the whole thing. And I just wondered if it was any different surfing.
This is fantastic.
Yeah, surfing, like you just, nature is like, at a certain point, like it's like sit down because your balance gets all crazy and everything's stretched out. And so that's part of it. But I think also like, nature is like doing these things to you where like your balance is way off. Your confidence gets weird. Like we all know, I think with snowboarding, there's an element of like, you just turn your brain off and do it. Like at a certain point, you're like, I'm just doing this and I might eat shit and that's it. Or like, this isn't going to work or whatever, but I'm just going to do it. Being pregnant was like the first time in my life where I was really just like, nope, not doing that. Doesn't feel good.
Was it incredible?
Being pregnant?
Yeah.
Ami asked this to me like in the same way with the same sort of face where like, he's like, it's really sweet. I feel like, yes, it was. Like, it is incredible. It's also a huge sacrifice for women. Like, it's not just 9 months. It's like 9 months plus a year, Even still, like, Alvy's, like, so dependent on me. And he just wants to be with me, like, not with Ami.
How old is
it was a
Alvy
cool
right now?
experience. He's, like, 15 months, 16 months.
And I would just like to note that you were on the podium 2024 Dirksen Derby.
Classics. Yeah, it was really fun. It was fun. That was, like
charging.
I snowboarded a couple times. Yeah, Josh had texted me like on that Friday of that weekend and like he was like, hey, unless you're feeling fit and fast, you're not going in elites. Like I'm going to put you in classics. And at first I was like, no, there's a mistake. Like that's an old category. And I like look up on the website the age groups and it's 40. And I was like, I turned 40 in November. And I was like, damn, we've been coming here a long time and now I'm 40 and I am in classics. And I was like, yeah, I feel fat and slow. So that sounds great.
What do we end up at? Podium?
Tied for third.
Third?
Ooh. Yeah.
Yeah. But
tied,
like,
that's milliseconds in Derby. That's crazy.
I just haven't been snowboarding. It didn't feel good. I fell on the second turn on the first day.
Damn. And then Ami was en route to take the dub, and he got a little too much mayonnaise on it on a heel turn. And
tuck the front.
Yeah.
Over the heel edge backwards.
Yeah.
Tragic.
It continues to be like a really fun event. Like 17 years, which is crazy. Like it's like the perfect level of competition where like people like off the desk, haven't snowboarded, have kids, pros can all show up and have like the same level of healthy competition. And, like it's pretty low consequence. Mostly egos.
All right, let's hit hot takes, Colleen. First question, GOAT or MJ, however you want to take it. To you, your favorite snowboarder, male or female?
That's really hard. Like really, really hard. Victoria, I think like, at this point in my life, in this phase, like what she did at that time is like, I have so much respect. And,
Okay, male?
It's like really hard for me to come up with any name like other than Travis. Like when I watch, especially watching him ride at natural selection where it's like not scripted, it's not like, oh, I didn't get the shot, like film it again. And just see him go like into full beast mode, like just the way he snowboards and the sheer talent and just like the confidence is insane. But like totally different avenue. I mean, like Jamie Lynn, like style and just like when like I was younger and like starting to watch videos and things like that. Like, I mean, I think he's like also the one that like so many people are just like, can like unanimously mind blown by the way that dude rides a snowboard. And
okay, would you consider snowboarding art form, lifestyle, or sport?
Art, for sure.
Steel or powder?
Powder, even though I hit a lot of steel.
Shame. Who's got your favorite style ever on a snowboard?
I love Ami style.
Woo!
There we go.
Love that. Who's got your favorite method?
Jamie.
What's your favorite snowboard video ever made?
For the hell of it.
Wow. What's your favorite board graphic?
Some of the six sticks. I think
like Bryan helped me.
Those McFetridge ones?
Yeah, McFetridge.
Those
Yeah,
ones
yeah.
were so
Spacing.
sick.
Yeah, the McFetridge 6.6 were like, but I'm like biased, you know, that was like when I was working there and I love that board.
All right, if you go heliboarding, 3 people, just good times, wiggling down the POW. Doesn't have to be, it can be fictional, it can be celebrities, it can be friends. It can be whatever you want it to be. Some people have chosen to bring Mike Tyson. Somebody brought Charlie Sheen, I believe. Charlie Sheen was somebody's, but you can also choose whoever you want. I'm just kind of.
Who did you choose, Bryan?
Shit, I can't remember. Probably my brother, Whitlake. I don't know.
I don't know, dude. We've done 5 million of these.
Yeah.
I mean, like, this is gonna sound so wholesome and kind of dweeby, but like Ami and then like future like Ellie and Alvy, that would be like insane. That would be the pipe dream.
Go. That's perfect.
Anomaly.
I think you should have said, I work at Patagonia, don't go heliing.
Yeah, that was the correct
That would
answer.
actually been the
correct.
correct
Just failed.
That was a softball, you failed.
Yeah. Oops.
All right, dream sponsor doesn't have to be in snowboarding. It can be anything in the world. You know, some people say Home Depot. Some people say the U.S. Mint, so they can print as much money as they want.
Wow.
Ferrari, whatever you want.
Maybe coffee from Ville.
Ooh.
I drink so much coffee.
That's
Hard
much heart.
coffee.
You just
Yeah.
pull up too, and you're like, "What up?"
Yeah.
Think about Ville as your team manager. Oof.
Oh, it would be awful. I'd get cut immediately. The judgment, yeah.
He'd be
Jumps a
like,
little small.
Yeah.
What temperature are you boiling the water?
Yeah.
You're cut.
Yep. I'd be off immediately.
All right, last question is worst trend.
I don't know. I just like don't care. Like what people want to do. I don't know. That's also like a really lame answer, but like I try. I don't know. Often like you see like a lot of people following the trends, like they're younger, you know, and they're just like trying to find their way. And we've all done it. We've all taken part in like super lame, like hilarious trends. And I don't know. I never like really see any of those and think like, oh, that's so lame. I'm so much cooler because I never did that, because I did so much lame stuff. And I don't know, trends are trends, and like they're kind of fun. And I don't know, they like mark moments and we all laugh at it.
Damn, you kind of dodged it, but I kind of love your answer too. I think that was good. I think you did good on that.
It was a dodge. I mean, I definitely like, I really did not like in the like bad baggy style, like kind of like some of the Mac Dog stuff, like bright colors, super baggy. Like I don't really like the look of that. I don't know. And
Remember
then like
people used to wear like basketball jerseys and
that was
yeah,
the
that
best.
was really bad.
That was the
hockey
best.
jerseys
That was
over
bad.
That was
their
the best.
outerwear.
Yeah.
They'd hit rails and they'd be
Yeah,
like,
that was fresh, brother.
I mean,
That's my. If you're talking about best trends, I'm on board with that.
I'm sure we're gonna be laughing at like the way a lot of people are dressing right now. You know, like just very, very silly and not built to be on snow.
Oh yeah. Okay, what snowboard are you riding right now? What's your setup?
A 6-stick, like still Salomon boards. Like usually if I'm just cruising, like side hits, like a 6-stick or riding POW. It's hard to get off those boards once you're on. And Shadow Fit bindings and Salomon boots. And yeah, I have a Jill Pro model. I don't know what board it is actually, but it was like her pro
Ride.
model.
She rides for Ride.
I know, but like what model it was or is, but I have. That's the only board I own that is not a Salomon. Yeah.
Doesn't sound like you're riding it though all that much. I'm just kidding.
No, not at all. Hopefully this winter.
Let's put up a back lip, see if it's still there. Okay, thank yous. You want to throw any thank yous out before we wrap this up?
Thank you both so much. Chris, thank you very much. Bryan, thank you so much for co-hosting, and Nick is no longer here. Yeah, my parents, I think like enabling this kind of like lifestyle, having the faith, I think that it would pan out eventually from like dirtbag style. We talked a lot about Eastern Border, like all those guys. Brian Fisk was one person I didn't mention. I mean, I didn't mention a lot of people. You know who you are. And yeah, a lot of people like at the brands over the years and the magazines and like Bridges and T-Bird and Susie Flores. And yeah, like the list could go on for literally forever. Brad Stewart, like everyone at Salomon, Bonfire, Dakine, and now Patagonia, I think also for like Ami.
Fantastic. What's next?
Hopefully getting on a lot of snow this winter. I feel like, just kind of figuring out life in Ventura, life with like 2 small children and a lot to do at work, which I'm excited about. And I don't really know. I mean, again, like, the whole 5-year plan or what's the next move or what are you working towards? I don't have any of those things. I feel like I've been like throughout my life just, like it feels good right now and I'm going to keep doing it and I like it or not. And, been really lucky, like right time, right place at a lot of moments. And so I'll tell you when that next thing comes up.
Perfect.
See.
I love it. C-Quigs, we've been freaking trying to do this for a number of years.
Yeah, it's been over 2 years because like you hit me up like right when I started at Patagonia and I was like, I don't know enough and it'll be more interesting later. And then, I was dodgy.
Yes.
I had anxiety.
That's facts.
Sorry. Thank you.
I'm so glad we made it happen. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for coming to chat. That was awesome.
Thank you guys.
Good to reminisce. Bryan, thanks for co-hosting.
Of course.
Thanks to all our sponsors. Thank you to our Patreon members. Thank you to everyone that listens. Thank you, C-Quigs. And Bryan, why don't you take us out of the show?
I don't know how.
Just kind of like do a sign off like you're on the news or something.
Okay, thank you all for tuning in. That was Colleen Quigley Voutilainen and Chris Grenier. My name is Bryan Fox, and have a great weekend.
Woo!